Before the legendary rankings were rewritten, the virtual world was ruled by one absolute masterpiece, Deus Ex Machina Ragnarok, known simply to its millions of fans as Demrock. It instantly conquered the global gaming charts, earning Game of the Year and redefining VR history. With over 100 million players, it seemed unstoppable, but even the greatest empires are bound to fall. Over time, the game's popularity plummeted, driving it to the absolute brink of shutdown. Final server notification delivers a crushing blow, announcing the game will permanently end in just 30 minutes. Underneath the quiet night sky, one loyal warrior stares out, preparing to say his final goodbyes.
This is Kaiser, the undisputed rank 1 monster of the entire server.
Sitting by the campfire, the purple-skinned, afro-haired warrior Purple Taste laments that the game he always complained about is actually ending. The ponytail-haired Swordmaster sympathizes, admitting that despite the terrible RNG elements, the game was incredibly fun. The gold mask drinker Kakukadukaku scoffs, pointing out that players would defeat dragons only to receive useless bricks as loot. Swordmaster chides his masked companion for ruining the nostalgic mood, but the gold mask warrior defends his blunt honesty. The argument escalates as Swordmaster insults the masked ranker's speech, prompting a furious challenge to a fight. As Kaiser approaches his bickering comrades, he quietly smiles and admits that the shutdown is indeed a shame. Purple Taste recalls Kaiser's dedication, noting that Kaiser studied the game harder than anyone else to master it. Purple Taste remarks that watching Kaiser battle always felt like witnessing absolute god-tier gameplay. The masked ranker laughs, teasing Kaiser that the gods are fair since his luck was always the worst. Purple Taste adds that Kaiser achieved rank 1 without a single legendary skill, meaning better luck would have put him out of their league entirely. The masked warrior hilariously recalls Kaiser screaming in agony after failing 10 consecutive equipment upgrades in a row. Purple Taste chuckles, teasingly concluding that Kaiser might actually have the worst luck of them all. A legendary party shares one last warm laugh around the glowing forest campfire. Swordmaster looks on warmly, reminding Kaiser that his terrible luck was truly legendary. Suddenly, the final system broadcast thanks the players for their loyalty as the world prepares to end. Purple Taste begins to pixelate and dissolve, offering Kaiser his heartfelt gratitude for their journey together. As they fade into light, the companions bid farewell, wishing to meet again in a truly god-tier game. Kaiser stands completely alone as the final traces of his friends vanish into the night. Crackling campfire burns down, marking the quiet death of a legendary era. Kaiser's own avatar finally dissolves in a brilliant pillar of blue light. The server officially goes dark, leaving the virtual forest completely empty. In the real world, a sleek VR headset is finally taken off, resting silently on the desk. 2 years fly by, shifting the scene to a bustling, sunlit modern metropolis. A green public bus speeds down the city streets, carrying passengers to their destinations. Inside the bus, 2 high schoolers marvel at an incredibly high-level gaming clip on a smartphone. The screen displays a mind-blowing solo raid against a colossal skeletal demon lord. The brown-haired teen declares that the Execution Guild's top-tier ranker exterminator is currently the absolute best. Friend counters, expressing his absolute devotion to the lone wolf top ranker known as the Empress. They debate if anyone could possibly defeat these 2 god-level players, hinting at a legendary figure. The student brings up Kaiser, the legendary rank 1 monster from the old Demrock days. Sitting nearby, the mysterious soldier smirks as he adjusts his military cap. A brilliant lightning-infused sword introduces the world's hottest new sequel, God of Savior. This massive virtual world connects players across the entire globe on an unprecedented scale. Featuring limitless freedom, players can choose from a vast array of new fantasy races and powerful classes. Having finally finished his military service, the legendary former rank 1 Kaiser, Kang Do-hyun, is officially back in action. Do-hyun bursts into his family home, instantly demanding to know where his new gaming capsule is located. His younger sister gasps in utter disbelief as Do-hyun sprints past them without even saying hello. His mother sighs from the kitchen, playfully complaining that children stop needing their parents once they grow up. Do-yin is completely mesmerized, his eyes sparkling as he beholds his ultimate prize. He steps into his room, marveling at the incredible high-tech capsule he had only ever seen online. Do-hyun hugs the smooth surface, crying tears of joy over the savings from his long military service. He lovingly strokes the sleek edges, completely obsessed with his brand new portal to another world. Climbing inside, Do-hyun seals the lid as the system prepares to boot up. After years of waiting, Do-hyun finally settles into his brand new capsule, finding comfort in his secondhand gear. The confident grin, Do-hyun lowers his gaming helmet, ready to conquer a brand new virtual landscape. The advanced VR helmet flares to life, enveloping his vision in blinding streams of digital energy. The high-tech interface flashes rapidly, scanning and verifying his personal identification card to initiate the link. The sleek system notification confirms his synchronization is complete, officially bridging his mind to the virtual realm. The legendary sequel, God of Savior, bursts onto the screen amidst a spectacular storm of blue lightning. A welcoming system window greets Do-hyun, inviting him to enter this grand paradise of endless adventure. Do-hyun materializes in a majestic temple lobby, bathed in a brilliant green light, prompting him to begin character creation. Wearing a simple white wrap, Do-hyun looks at his reflection and complains that he looks way too much like a soldier. Swipe panels of customization options overwhelm him, prompting him to just wing the process instead of wasting time. Selecting a handsome, dark-haired avatar, he pauses as the system prompts him to choose a unique nickname. A cold, knowing smirk plays on his lips as he registers the legendary name of server number 1, Kaiser. burning ruins of Arlen Castle appear before him, a legendary war-torn battlefield consumed by raging flames. Kaiser takes a deep breath, completely amazed by the stunning, hyper-realistic graphics of this next-generation virtual reality. A blue system notification prompts Kaiser to choose his starting weapon as holographic weapon cards materialize around him. Disappointed by the basic starter weapons on display, Kaiser notes that none of them are particularly fancy. Relying on his instincts, Kaiser reaches out to select a standard low-tier training sword. Kaiser grips the sword tightly, reflecting on his long-standing preference for blades since his legendary Demrock days. A sudden booming voice commands Kaiser to halt, causing him to glance over his shoulder. A warrior clad in heavy golden-trimmed armor sprints through the blazing courtyard straight toward Kaiser. The panicked knight, identified as Knight Commander Charlie, demands to know why a civilian is lingering on a battlefield. Without waiting for an answer, Knight Commander Charlie grabs Kaiser's wrist, forcing him to move. Charlie frantically drags Kaiser along while a party notification confirms they have officially formed a squad. The two sprint through the burning corridor as ash and embers rain down on the stone floor. Suddenly, Kaiser spots something ahead, his eyes narrowing as they approach a grim scene. They come across a bloody heap of slaughtered soldiers and the carcass of a monstrous hyena-like beast. Charlie grinds his teeth, grimly explaining that the enemy forces have actively allied with these feral monsters. The commander warns that they must act immediately before a terrifying otherworldly creature descends upon the castle. Charlie pushes open a heavy wooden door, frantically urging Kaiser to follow him inside. Just as Kaiser steps forward, a deadly arrow whistles through the air at blinding speed. Multiple arrows thud violently into the wooden floor, cutting off their advance and catching the commander off guard. Snarling beastmen emerge from the shadows, prompting Charlie to resolve to fight his way through the pack. Instead of retreating, Kaiser effortlessly slips past the commander, charging headfirst toward the monstrous horde. A ferocious beastman screeches in rage, raising its weapon to strike down the reckless intruder. Kaiser's eyes glow with a cold, piercing blue light as his battle instincts instantly kick in. Seeing the monster lunge, the terrified commander screams for the mysterious traveler to look out. Kaiser slides gracefully across the dusty stone floor, easily dodging beneath the enemy's sweeping strike. Beastman's weapon swings harmlessly through empty air as Kaiser maneuvers perfectly into its blind spot. The monstrous warrior wide-eyes in shock, utterly confused by the traveler's godlike agility. With absolute precision, Kaiser reaches for the hilt of his basic training sword, ready to strike. A single blinding horizontal slash tears through the beastman, spraying blood across the dim corridor. Kaiser's glowing blue eyes remain completely calm as a rain of dark blood splatters around him. Kaiser moves like a phantom, leaving a trail of blue light as he easily cuts down another monster. The remaining hyena warriors freeze in utter disbelief, horrified by the traveler's terrifying speed and power. Desperate to turn the tide, a larger beastman leaps from above, letting out a blood-curdling roar. The colossal beast swings its heavy weapon downward, determined to crush the human in one blow. Kaiser calmly shifts his weight, pulling back his fist to prepare a devastating counterstrike. Kaiser unleashes an explosive knee strike, slamming it directly into the beast's armored chest with cataclysmic power. The monstrous warrior spits blood, completely overwhelmed by the crushing force of Kaiser's barehanded strike. The giant beast crashes heavily to the stone floor, leaving the remaining monsters paralyzed with fear as Kaiser dominates the battlefield. Two ferocious beastmen sweat in sheer panic as their ambush completely fails. Kaiser's eyes glow with lethal precision, his battle instincts instantly taking over. Kaiser unleashes a devastating slash, effortlessly wiping out multiple monsters in one strike. Kaiser lands gracefully, his feet sliding perfectly across the stone floor. Kaiser stands victorious amidst the fallen foes, demonstrating absolute martial dominance. Kaiser confidently lowers his blood-stained blade, completely unbothered by the easy victory. Feeling relieved after his first battle, Kaiser realizes his combat skills are still incredibly sharp. Kaiser steps forward, amazed that his physical body feels lighter and more agile. Knight Commander Charlie looks on in absolute shock, unable to believe Kaiser soloed 5 monsters. A system notification reveals Charlie's admiration has surged, confusing Kaiser who didn't expect it. Kaiser reflects on the favor system, noting it rises much faster than in Demrock. Charlie wonders if the mysterious warrior is one of the legendary heroes from history. System notification confirms Charlie now trusts Kaiser completely, ignoring any potential future crimes. Kaiser is highly pleased after unlocking a rare title that boosts all his stats. Charlie enthusiastically explains that defeating the dark mage inside will secure their absolute victory. Sudden, ominous magical energy erupts above them, prompting a panicked warning from Charlie. Terrifying red-eyed monsters burst through the walls, screeching as they swarm the corridor. Charlie bravely commands Kaiser to rush ahead and stop the summoner while he holds the line. Shrouded in a golden battle aura, Charlie expresses his absolute faith in Kaiser's abilities. Charlie invokes a solemn blessing upon Kaiser, hailing him as their true savior. Charlie roars as he charges headfirst into the terrifying swarm of monsters. Kaiser is left completely baffled by his sudden, unexpected role as the chosen hero. Kaiser recalls that all the standard player guide videos showed a completely different scenario. Kaiser remembers that the guides clearly showed Charlie entering the boss room first. Kaiser realizes his actions have dramatically altered the tutorial's standard progression. Kaiser steps forward, his boots clicking softly on the stone floor. Kaiser stands before the massive wooden doors enveloped in crackling dark energy. A system alert warns that only one player can enter, prompting Kaiser's intense surprise. Kaiser's eyes widen with excitement as he realizes he has triggered a hidden piece. System notification explains that hidden pieces are secret game features offering legendary rewards. A final glowing confirmation window asks Kaiser if he truly dares to enter. A confident smile spreads across Kaiser's face, ready to face whatever awaits. Kaiser refuses to let such a rare, legendary opportunity slip through his fingers. Kaiser strides forward, vanishing into a blinding pillar of sacred purple light. Kaiser enters to find a desperate summoner screaming in agony as his creation rebels. Massive reptilian flesh tears open, releasing an overwhelming torrent of dark energy. Kaiser watches in absolute disbelief, his eyes widening at the colossal threat. A massive, terrifying jaw opens, prepared to consume everything in its path. A colossal chain dragon materializes, introducing the legendary shackled abyssal dragon of iron blood. Kaiser views the dragon's sealed status, realizing the creature's immense power is heavily restricted. Kaiser stares directly at the beast, his analytical mind evaluating the situation. Kaiser is stunned to encounter a legendary-grade boss right in the tutorial. System lore explains that the new game heavily adapted systems from the legendary Demrock. The ranking system categorizes various monster tiers, defining the absolute peak of danger. Among all the dangerous monsters, legendary-named bosses represent the absolute pinnacle. The shackled abyssal dragon of Ironblood roars, radiating a terrifying pressure. Kaiser stands completely unfazed before the gargantuan chained legendary boss. The colossal dragon unleashes a deafening roar, shattering the silence of the chamber. The sound wave of the beast's roar violently tears through the entire room. Powerful debuff notifications flash as Kaiser braces against the crushing, stat-reducing roar. Face to face with a literal dragon in the beginner tutorial, Kaiser's mind races with sheer disbelief at the developer's absolute shamelessness. The only saving grace is that the beast's legendary stats are completely sealed, offering a tiny sliver of hope. Despite the seal, a single blow from that colossal chained claw will still mean instant death. Staring down the giant monster, Kaiser reflects on his past, remembering how he conquered equally impossible odds in Demrock. Back then, when confronted by overwhelming monstrosities, his battle instincts always led him to make the exact same choice. Shrouded in a blazing blue battle aura, Kaiser prepares to go all out or die trying. Kaiser's piercing blue eyes narrow with absolute focus as his legendary killer instincts fully awaken. The gargantuan dragon strikes with cataclysmic force, shattering the stone ground as Kaiser narrowly dodges the impact. Kaiser slides gracefully across the dusty tiles, positioning himself perfectly beneath the beast's massive blind spot. He unleashes a blinding horizontal slash, his training sword clashing against the beast's impenetrable hide with a deafening screech. Completely enraged, the shackled beast unleashes a sound wave of pure fury that violently shakes the entire chamber. Moving like the wind, Kaiser spins gracefully through the air to deliver another rapid, precise strike. Sensing a sudden shift in the air, Kaiser quickly spins around to react to an incoming threat. Kaiser drives his sword downward with relentless force, producing a massive explosion of energy upon impact. The sheer force of the impact pushes him back, but Kaiser recovers instantly, sliding into a ready stance. Kaiser's piercing blue eyes narrow as he locks onto his opponent's next move. A staggering health bar reveals his desperate efforts have only chipped away a measly 120 health points. Kaiser sighs in frustration, realizing the gaming community was absolutely right about this being the worst possible difficulty setting. Refusing to back down, Kaiser attacks again, his blade producing bright orange sparks against the dragon's scales. Kaiser leaps high into the air, focusing all his remaining energy into a single point. With unmatched speed, he drives his sword deep into the dragon's defenses. Kaiser delivers a final cataclysmic strike that pierces the dragon's critical weakness. The blade sinks deep into the gargantuan claw, drawing dark, corrupted blood. The legendary dragon unleashes one last tragic roar as its life force is completely extinguished. Kaiser stands victorious atop the fallen behemoth, delivering the absolute final blow to seal his triumph. Blazing system notifications announce his historic victory as the first ever player to solo a legendary boss in the tutorial. Covered in blood and bruises, Kaiser collapses onto his sword, utterly drained from the grueling battle. Breathing heavily, he mutters in exhaustion about how ridiculously stubborn the legendary beast was. Yet he knows that being the absolute first to achieve this impossible feat will yield unmatched rewards. Kaiser stands tall and sheathes his training sword, realizing that not even the world's elite rankers could have pulled off this victory. The game's top players are shown throwing a massive tantrum, cursing the developers for making an unbeatable game. A smug smirk plays on Kaiser's lips as he wonders how those high and mighty rankers are doing now. Suddenly, a glowing system notification arrives announcing that multiple powerful traits are manifesting from his historic victory. An absurd barrage of legendary traits rains down on him, unlocking Weapon Master, Hidden Dragon Slayer, Hero, and Overcome. A final notification confirms that the hidden conditions for an even greater reward have officially been met. A legendary unique trait begins to awaken, prompting a curiosity loop as a legendary ocular power manifests. Kaiser's jaw drops in complete shock at the unprecedented number of traits he is receiving at once. He reminds himself of the basic game rules, noting how far he has shattered them. In any standard tutorial, a player is only supposed to receive a single starting trait. The game's deep trait system is revealed, showing a vast constellation of unique and powerful paths. The system details that these specialized traits adapt directly to a player's combat accomplishments and deeds. Analyzing the screen, Kaiser is stunned by the game-breaking stat boosts and passive immunities he has just acquired. But his eyes widen even further as he realizes the true jackpot is still to come. A glowing window reveals his legendary unique trait, Eye of Truth, allowing him to see through all hidden secrets. While traits like Slayer and Hero are exceptionally powerful, they are not completely one of a kind. Countless top players around the world likely possess at least one of those high-tier combat traits. However, the Eye of Truth is a unique grade trait, meaning only a single one exists in the entire world. He realizes he has just hit the ultimate jackpot before even leaving the tutorial area. Accompanied by 6 legendary traits, his newly unlocked title First Slayer grants him game-breaking passive stats. He looks at his stat sheet in sheer awe, eager to see how this legendary start will break the game. Imagine hitting the ultimate jackpot when you've been plagued by atrocious luck your entire life. Kaiser basks in the warmth of his legendary rewards, deeply grateful for this unbelievable turn of fortune. But the quiet moment is shattered as the heavy wooden doors behind him begin to slowly creak open. The agonizingly slow movement of the entrance builds unbearable tension in the blood-stained corridor. Charlie, the blonde knight covered in blood, suddenly bursts through the doorway, his sword raised in a frantic defensive stance. Exhausted and visibly trembling, the knight gasps in pure disbelief as he takes in the scene. Soft, deliberate footsteps echo through the quiet chamber as Kaiser approaches the battered warrior. Still reeling from the deafening battle cries, Charlie stands dumbfounded as Kaiser casually confirms that the legendary monster has indeed been slain. Staring at Kaiser's flawless clean state, Charlie is utterly bewildered by the fact that he defeated a boss without sustaining a single scratch. Before Kaiser can even explain, the awestruck knight raises a hand declaring that the hero's identity and origins no longer matter. Enraptured by Kaiser's impossible feat, Charlie proclaims that true heroes bloom in chaos to bring hope to a turbulent world. Smiling with absolute reverence, the knight officially hails Kaiser as the great savior they have all been waiting for. Dropping to his knees with unwavering conviction, Charlie prepared to make a life-altering pledge. Kneeling humbly, Charlie offers his absolute allegiance, prompting a system notification that he wishes to swear fealty as Kaiser's permanent subordinate. Kaiser is completely caught off guard by this unexpected development, his eyes widening in sheer shock at the massive proposal. However, a cold system notification quickly reveals a tragic catch. Since Charlie is long deceased in the real timeline, no actual benefits can be claimed. Remembering that the entire tutorial is merely a historical reenactment, Kaiser realizes the tragic reality of the system's rules. Realizing the oath is purely symbolic but deeply meaningful, Kaiser accepts the gesture and warmly bids the knight to proceed. A bright system alert confirms the acceptance of the oath, ensuring Kaiser's legacy as Charlie's lord will be forever preserved in the knight's memories. A heartbreaking system update explains that the tragic tragedy of Arlen Castle will now end in victory in Charlie's heart, granting him eternal peace. Watching the noble warrior, Kaiser quietly reflects on the bittersweet nature of granting a fallen hero a peaceful sleep. Suddenly, a brilliant blue magic circle erupts around them as the system announces Kaiser's imminent departure to the Pantheon. The warping energy intensifies, swirling into a massive glowing vortex that begins to engulf both of them. Surrounded by the blinding light, Charlie looks up at his master, uttering his devotion one last time. Smiling warmly, the loyal knight asks where their epic journey will take them next. Kaiser glances back, contemplating the vast, dangerous world waiting just beyond the tutorial's borders. With a confident smirk, Kaiser declares that they will go wherever they are needed to face the chaos head-on. Moved by his lord's heroic resolve, Charlie echoes the sentiment with profound pride as the warp reaches its peak. The system countdown flashes rapidly, signaling only 5 seconds remain before the dimensional transport is complete. In a final desperate act of loyalty, Charlie extends his hand to pass a mysterious glowing purple relic to Kaiser. With only 2 seconds left, Kaiser catches the mystical pendant as the system confirms he has successfully obtained a hidden treasure. Smiling beautifully as his physical form begins to dissolve into particles of light, Charlie bids a final, grateful farewell to his lord. Shifting realms in an instant, a massive glowing system notification officially welcomes Kaiser to the sacred pantheon. Kaiser stands before a colossal glowing pillar surrounded by swirling green cards where he must choose a patron god to determine his class. Gazing at the majestic architecture of the legendary sanctuary, Kaiser is completely awed by its grand scale. System lore humorously reveals that despite its grand name, veteran players affectionately refer to this place as the infamous card gacha room. The interface explains the absolute rules of the trial. A player may only serve one god, and this choice dictates their entire class path. The screen displays the 3 distinct tiers of divinity available to choose from: Fable gods, Heroic gods, and Mythic gods. Colossal moss-covered treant represents the Fable gods, entities born from the folklore and stories of mortals over time. A radiant, gold-clad Egyptian queen represents the Heroic gods, legendary mortals who ascended to divinity through heroic deeds. At the absolute peak stand the Mythic gods, featuring primordial powerhouses like Zeus and Odin who forged entire mythologies. Kaiser looks at the dizzying array of glowing cards, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of choices before him. Remembering his historically atrocious luck in past games, Kaiser decides to keep his expectations low and avoid getting too greedy. But his plans are instantly shattered when he notices a single brilliant golden card radiating intense light among the sea of blue. A glowing system notification announces the sudden automatic activation of Kaiser's legendary unique trait, the Eye of Truth. Kaiser's eyes ignite with a piercing golden glow as his unique skill begins to penetrate the hidden secrets of the cards. Kaiser is left completely speechless as his glowing eyes widen in absolute shock at the hidden reality revealed to him. He realizes that with the Eye of Truth, every single gacha pull from now on will essentially be a guaranteed cheat code. Kaiser briefly recalls the painful memories of his former guildmates mocking his pitiful luck, remembering how deeply those insults used to sting. Looking back at the glowing golden card, Kaiser smiles with fierce determination, ready to reclaim his throne as the ultimate ranker. Clutching his chest as his heart races with pure excitement, Kaiser tries to stay calm before making the most important choice of his life. Determined to make the ultimate pick, he reaches exclusively for the glowing golden cards. With absolute focus, Kaiser pulls a brilliant high-tier card that lights up the chamber. A glowing blue system notification reveals he has successfully drawn the mythic god Tier. The legendary horn god Tier appears, presenting Kaiser with a massive divine selection choice. Kaiser is completely stunned to have drawn a legendary mythic Tier deity on his very first attempt. Grinning with newfound confidence, he prepares to finalize the ultimate game-changing choice. A cold system error suddenly rejects his choice, declaring he cannot become Tier's apostle and must redraw. The god Tier himself is visibly shaken by the system anomaly, realizing Kaiser lacks a formed vessel. Kaiser is left in utter disbelief, having never heard of such an error in the game's history. He narrows his eyes, deeply questioning the meaning behind his missing vessel. He realizes that defeating the tutorial boss instead of losing broke the intended sequence of divine selection. Checking his profile, Kaiser discovers that his class title remains completely missing. He stares in frustration as his class remains stuck as a basic adventurer rather than a blessed apostle. Left in absolute silence, he desperately ponders his next move in the broken chamber. Seeing no alternative, Kaiser realizes all remaining god cards are now utterly useless to him. He drops to his knees in pure despair, seeing his long-awaited moment turn to ash. Holding his head, he dreads the 60-day penalty required to delete and remake his character. Suddenly, a strange glowing light in his peripheral vision cuts through his hopeless thoughts. Turns around to spot an undocumented red card pulsing with ominous energy on the floor. He reaches out to touch it, bewildered by a card rank completely unknown to player history. The system reveals a hidden card, crowning him the Apostle of Cassiar, the forgotten last adventurer. A sudden realization strikes him, sending a massive jolt of excitement through his veins. With a dangerous red glow in his eyes, he recognizes this anomaly as a legendary hidden piece. The system officially confirms his class change, unlocking the exclusive class skills of the last adventurer. The legendary class description reveals a forgotten master of Avtartel with power capable of threatening gods. Violent crimson energy surges through Kaiser's body, solidifying his new path. A game-breaking passive ability is revealed, granting Kaiser the power to use any skill regardless of class. A smug grin returns to his face as he realizes he can now master every skill in the game. He envisions cherry-picking the absolute best abilities to forge an unbeatable personal skill tree. Combining this freedom with his unique Eye of Truth and Weapon Master traits opens infinite possibilities. Kaiser foresees his inevitable ascent as a flawless, heavily armed master of all combat arts. The dimensional transport system begins its rapid countdown to transfer him to the starting city. Smirking confidently, he prepares to step back into the world with a flawless plan.
Kaiser vows to reclaim his throne as the ultimate ranker as the teleportation completes.
The brilliant starting city of Arde stands vibrant under a bright blue sky. Nearby players sigh over their terrible gacha draws while friends offer them comforting advice. Guild recruiters navigate the bustling plaza, ignoring the dramatic meltdowns of failed players. Two sharply dressed guild scouts survey the square, complaining about the complete lack of promising new talents. System lore explains that these guild recruiters are often treated like persistent street preachers. The gray-haired scout expresses immense frustration, fearing his manager's anger over missed monthly recruitment quotas. The dark-haired recruiter's eyes suddenly land on a very peculiar player in the crowd. He mockingly points out Kaiser, assuming his quiet focus is actually the look of complete mental defeat. The scouts dismissively walk away, believing that recruiting someone so broken is a waste of time. Reviewing his inventory, Kaiser is amazed by the incredible defensive and magical stats on his new hero-grade necklace. He comically basks in his incredible luck, thoroughly enjoying the sweetness of his fortune. A sudden blue notice window appears, offering Kaiser a basic starting hunting quest. Other players nearby cheers the server-wide goblin cleanup quest is automatically distributed without waiting lines. Standing high on a wooden stage, the hunter Dante rallies the crowd to massacre the invading goblins. The plaza instantly erupts into a chaotic scramble as players shout out to build balanced leveling parties. Kaiser looks around calmly, noting how everyone is grouping up before making his own solo move. Just as Kaiser is preparing to make his solo move, a friendly armored warrior named Shieldbest approaches him, inviting him to join their party to grind to level 12. The archer and mage encourage Kaiser to team up so they can all secure a valuable party experience bonus. Quietly considering the offer, Kaiser realizes that party hunting makes perfect sense for efficient leveling. Kaiser recognizes that hunting in a party is much easier and provides essential experience bonuses. A system notification officially confirms that Kaiser has joined a party with Shield Best, Forehead Here, and Yubingcom. Shield Best asks Kaiser if he's a fan of the legendary top ranker, while the mage remains completely clueless about the name. The archer explains that Kaiser was once the rank 1 player in Demrock, assuming their teammates simply copied the famous name. Kaiser nervously scratches his head, forced to play along with their amusing misunderstanding. The energetic group pumps their fists, eagerly rallying to rush straight to level 12. Kaiser awkwardly raises his hands, doing his best to match the party's intense enthusiasm. Shield Best executes a perfect shield strike, successfully stunning a green goblin in the opening engagement. Having successfully landed his bash skill, Shield Best loudly commands everyone in the party to attack. The archer Forehead Here shoots an arrow while the mage Yubingkung unleashes a powerful mana bolt. The coordinated onslaught successfully obliterates the green goblin, earning the party an easy kill. Two aggressive green goblins suddenly screech as they emerge to join the fight. The monsters sprint rapidly down the hill, intent on attacking the group. Shield Best stands his ground, bracing hard against a goblin's swift dagger strike. The archer and mage shout in panic, desperately calling out for their shield defender. Gritting his teeth, Shield Best struggles to hold the goblin back while urging his party to kill it quickly. Shield Best panics as he realizes his defensive shield skill is still stuck on cooldown. Seizing the opening, a vicious goblin leaps high into the air to strike from above. Bloodthirsty monster grins widely, ready to deliver a fatal blow to the vanguard. A brilliant blue flash of energy cuts through the air, intercepting the leaping threat. The leaping goblin is instantly struck down midair, saving Shield Best from a devastating attack. Stunned party members stare in absolute disbelief at the sudden and overwhelming display of power. Kaiser blitzes forward with blinding speed, drawing his blade to confront the remaining enemies. A powerful shockwave ripples across the grassy battlefield as Kaiser delivers a devastating slash. Two more green goblins are instantly slain by Kaiser's single, incredibly precise blade strike. The amazed archer and mage cheer enthusiastically, loudly praising Kaiser's incredible combat skills. Kaiser calmly sheathes his sword, completely unfazed by the easy encounter. Shield Best happily thanks Kaiser, deeply impressed by his teammates' top-tier carrying ability. Shield Best confidently declares that they will easily clear the entire quest at this incredible rate. Shield Best's face suddenly pales with terror as he spots a massive threat rising behind Kaiser. An entire army of snarling, red-eyed goblins emerges from the shadows of the forest. The terrifying horde of goblins charges forward, brandishing their weapons with murderous intent. Realizing they are completely outmatched, Shield Best panics and insists they must run away immediately. Disregarding the warning, Kaiser fearlessly charges straight into the heart of the oncoming enemy horde. Monstrous goblins screech in delight as their lone target walks straight into their trap. Kaiser leaps high into the sky, positioning himself perfectly above the massive sea of monsters. Kaiser's eyes ignite with a fierce crimson glow as he unleashes his hidden, game-breaking power. Colossal, devastating explosion of light erupts, completely swallowing the entire goblin army below. In a brief flashback, a highly muscular afro-haired trainer questions Kaiser's incredibly aggressive combat style. Holding his blade, a confused Kaiser genuinely questions why his direct tactics are considered reckless. Trainer argues that charging head-on with low health against a powerful boss is the definition of reckless. Kaiser casually shuts down the argument by pointing out that he successfully killed the boss anyway. The trainer is left completely speechless, unable to argue with Kaiser's flawless track record. Back in the present, Kaiser looks at the horde, amusement dancing in his eyes as he reflects on that memory. Kaiser admits that his trainer had a point, and there is no real need to take unnecessary risks in a fight. But as his blade begins to glow with immense power, Kaiser makes one final correction. Kaiser boldly declares that he has never fought recklessly because he has always possessed the absolute power to win. A terrifying horde of bloodthirsty green monsters surges forward, roaring for blood. Standing defiant against the threat, the reddish-brown-haired warrior raises his blade, declaring his resolve to only engage in fights he is guaranteed to win. Shifting the battlefield, the black-haired warrior unleashes a ferocious strike, instantly felling a goblin as a system message confirms the fatal blow. Meanwhile, the reddish-brown-haired warrior draws a horde of monsters close, keeping his composure under pressure. Charging down the grassy hill, the black-haired warrior strategizes to eliminate the ranged attackers first when facing overwhelming numbers. With blinding speed, the black-haired warrior leaps through the air, cleaving a goblin cleanly in two. Seeing his ally fall, a desperate goblin prepares to fire a deadly blowpipe dart. Sensing the danger, the black-haired warrior effortlessly weaves through the chaos, slicing down foes while evading the incoming projectile. Suddenly, a powerful awakening takes place as a glowing system notification announces that a legendary limit-breaking trait has been activated for the reddish-brown-haired warrior. Fueled by this surge of power, the reddish-brown-haired warrior clashes blades with an aggressive goblin. The beast screeches in agony, unable to match the warrior's newfound strength. Across the field, the black-haired warrior moves like a shadow, delivering another lethal strike from behind. He pivots instantly on his heels, kicking up grass as he readies his next attack. Dodging an incoming weapon, the black-haired warrior slips past the monsters with fluid grace. The battle rages on as the reddish-brown-haired warrior parries another goblin's heavy attack with absolute precision. Anticipating the creature's next move, the reddish-brown-haired warrior braces for a decisive counterstrike. At the same moment, the black-haired warrior tears through the battlefield, claiming another victim in a flurry of blood. A new system notification appears, unlocking a powerful basic dagger skill that targets the enemy's weak points. Spotting a weapon flying through the air, the black-haired warrior smiles in anticipation. He reaches out, snatching the dagger's hilt out of midair with flawless timing. Without hesitation, he drives the weapon directly into a goblin's weakest spot, activating his newly acquired skill. Surrounded on all sides, the black-haired warrior wields both blade and dagger, turning into a whirlwind of destruction. A massive shockwave ripples through the air as another weapon enters the fray. A status window reveals that his Weapon Master ability has completely bypassed the equipment restrictions for a massive spiked club. Grasping the heavy weapon, the black-haired warrior strikes with overwhelming force. He slashes the throat of another monster, leaving no room for escape. Catching the falling club in one hand, the black-haired warrior executes a dual-wielding maneuver that catches the remaining goblins off guard. He delivers a devastating blow with the spiked club, splattering his foe as a notification confirms his successful swing. The dust settles as multiple system screens announce massive level-ups in his weapon masteries, leaving the black-haired warrior highly satisfied. Surveying the carnage, the black-haired warrior marvels at how easily he can utilize advanced skills without any of the usual restrictions. A flush of excitement washes over his face as he realizes the sheer magnitude of his power. Watching from a safe distance, the blue-armored knight sweats in sheer disbelief, noting that even a highly trained party usually struggles to clear such a formidable pack of goblins. Yet here this mysterious warrior stands, having completely annihilated the entire horde all by himself. A memory flashes in the knight's mind of the legendary ranker known as Kaiser, who possessed similar, terrifying potential. The blue-armored knight's heart races as he begins to suspect the true identity of the warrior before him. Quickly shakes his head, trying to dismiss the seemingly impossible idea. Recalling old internet forums discussing the mysterious disappearance of the legendary ranker, the knight wonders if Kaiser has truly returned. He remains in deep denial, unable to comprehend the absurd situation. Staring at the quiet warrior from behind, the knight desperately wonders who this monstrous fighter actually is. Unaware of the knight's panic, the reddish-brown-haired warrior laughs maniacally, completely thrilled by how sweet his returns are. This unhinged display of joy only terrifies the blue-armored knight further, convincing him that the man is completely insane. The black-haired warrior's focus sharpens as he turns his attention back to the remains of the bell. He watches the non-loot items dissolve into blue particles, noting how the system manages the leftover gear. With weapon and skill restrictions completely bypassed, he feels more than ready to conquer any challenge ahead. Opening his status window, he is pleased to find that a single hunt has netted him 3 massive level-ups. The black-haired warrior carefully allocates his new stat points, prioritizing strength, agility, and perception to bolster his core swordsman abilities. He confirms that his current gear and titles have his other stat requirements covered for the foreseeable future. Just then, a voice calls out to him, praising his insane battle prowess in the most positive way. The green-cloaked archer and the young mage rush over, cheering and declaring their absolute admiration for his heroic deeds. As they head out, the blue-armored knight and the archer debate whether this quiet newcomer could truly be the legendary ranker, leaving his legendary identity shrouded in mystery. The battle's aftermath sparks an intense realization as the blue-armored knight and the spiky-haired archer compare the mysterious warrior's overwhelming skills to the legendary Kaiser. Their excitement grows as they discuss how the black-haired warrior's incredible performance perfectly mirrors that of the missing ranker. Behind them, the black-haired warrior scratches his head, internally amused because he actually is the legendary Kaiser. Curious about his power, the blue-armored knight asks Kaiser if he has somehow obtained a godlike mythic class. Kaiser humbly smiles, explaining that his performance is simply due to his unique traits and a lucky title. This revelation astounds the party, prompting the young mage to eagerly pledge her loyalty to the future top ranker. The group shares a lighthearted laugh on the grassy field as their bond deepens before the next hunt. With their health fully recovered, the blue-armored knight proposes they resume their hunt immediately. Energized by Kaiser's presence, the archer confidently suggests taking on 10 monsters at a time. Kaiser warmly agrees with a smile, ready to lead them into the next challenge. The enthusiastic party charges forward together, fully confident in their unstoppable powerhouse teammate. Kaiser's expression sharpens as they approach their destination, his focus locked onto the path ahead. Meanwhile, a dark memory flashes of greedy adventurers planning to rely entirely on Kaiser to carry them through the dungeon. The memory reveals how other arrogant rankers mock the reddish-brown-haired warrior, underestimating his true potential. Back in the present, Kaiser looks up at the sky, briefly wondering what his former companions are up to now. Suddenly, a red system window appears announcing an emergency quest to defeat a rare mutant goblin warrior. Elsewhere, the reddish-brown-haired warrior stands resolute, completely unaware that a giant mutant goblin towers directly behind him. Kaiser's party arrives at the massive dark entrance of the Arde Forest Cave where the mutant resides. Feeling the heavy atmosphere of the cave, the archer and mage admit their nervousness, which Kaiser notes is entirely justified. Narration panel confirms the party did extra preparation and grinding along the way to face this formidable boss. Deep inside the cavern, the monstrous mutant goblin warrior unleashes a terrifying, blood-curdling roar. The cave walls tremble violently as the blue-armored knight and the mage realize the horrifying scale of this elite boss. Sensing the immediate danger, Kaiser shouts a warning to his allies as the beast attacks. The giant mutant goblin leaps from the shadows, descending upon them with a massive blade. The blue-armored knight realizes that despite Kaiser's strength, he must step up to protect the group. Knowing Kaiser cannot shield everyone, the knight glances back at the vulnerable mage and archer. Determined to pull his own weight, the blue-armored knight raises his heavy shield to face the charging beast. The muscular boss goblin screeches as it charges forward with unstoppable momentum. Blue-armored knight yells for the party to scatter as the impact looms. The gargantuan monster swings its weapon, forcing the agile archer and mage to leap out of the blast zone. Bracing for the initial assault, the blue-armored knight prepares to block the boss's signature charging attack. The massive blade collides with the wooden shield in a shower of sparks, pushing the knight's defensive limits. The violent clash successfully halts the monster, leaving the mutant goblin warrior temporarily stunned. Seizing the crucial opening, the blue-armored knight commands his companions to strike immediately. The archer and the young mage unleash their respective magic and physical attacks in unison. Their combined elemental forces detonate directly against the giant monster in a brilliant explosion. As the smoke clears, the mutant goblin warrior emerges standing, its red eyes glowing with intense rage. The blue-armored knight stares in sheer disbelief, shocked that their coordinated assault barely fazed the beast. Swiftly recovering, the colossal monster lunges forward to crush the knight. The boss's sword slashes down with cataclysmic power, slamming against the knight's raised shield. Under the intense pressure, a golden system notification announces the activation of the knight's guardian trait. Fueled by the defensive stat boosts from keeping his allies behind him, the knight proudly declares he has secured the monster's aggro. Taking advantage of the distraction, Kaiser moves like a flash, slashing multiple blue energy lines across the boss. The mutant goblin howls in agony as Kaiser's precise strikes tear through its defense. A massive energy blast erupts around the boss, engulfing the cavern in blinding light. Believing victory is near, the blue-armored knight smiles, confident they will easily clear the first phase. Suddenly, the archer frantically warns the knight that a dangerous boss pattern is starting early. A system window reveals the boss's HP has plummeted, prematurely triggering a lethal phase change. The giant boss goblin towers over the knight once more, ready to unleash a devastating attack. With a sudden explosive step, a warrior moves to intervene before the deadly blow can land. Kaiser strikes a heavy blow, cutting down a massive armored beast with a glowing blue slash. A sharp echoing clash of blades reverberates across the rocky cavern floor. The monstrous beast bellows in pure agony as blood splatters from the deep weem. Shieldbest peers from behind his wooden shield, looking completely stunned by Kaiser's overwhelming strength. Kaiser darts forward with blinding speed, preparing to execute another lethal blade strike. He smiles with glowing red eyes, declaring that he has completely analyzed the enemy's attack pattern. The battle concludes as a party status window confirms everyone is successfully leveled up to 9. The entrance of a terrifying red-lit cave looms ahead as the party approaches their next trial. The system prompt introduces their next daunting destination as a preview raid called Ardez Grave. Legendary tales warn of this brutal dungeon, infamous for its unforgiving and hopeless atmosphere. A massive red-skinned goblin warrior swings a colossal blade, demonstrating the insane difficulty spike ahead. Defeating this monstrosity demands flawless team play and complex combat pattern execution. Together, the seasoned party slowly walks into the dark, torchlit cave to face their destiny. Shieldbest and his comrade express deep frustration over the extreme coordination required to clear the raid. Yubing clutches her staff tightly, deeply intimidated by the notorious reputation of the dungeon. Shieldbest urges them forward, emphasizing that completing this raid is essential for their future progression. Kaiser silently agrees, knowing that experience is the ultimate currency in this game. System lore explains that veterans are always highly favored over completely untested players. Online forums mock those who fail, comparing their tactical intelligence to low-level goblin warriors. Every triumph and milestone is permanently written inside the legendary Adventurer's Tome. From clearing quests to discovering hidden regions, every single accomplishment is recorded. Conquering boss monsters in the frozen peaks adds prestigious achievements to this legendary chronicle. The group walks through the rocky canyon knowing this trial is mandatory to reach the next city. Kaiser remains highly focused, aware that the upcoming city boss is completely unavoidable. He steps forward decisively, his heavy black boot clicking against the dusty stone floor. They arrive at a giant carved wooden double door leading to the mutant goblin warrior's lair. Kaiser turns back to his team with a confident smile, asking if they are ready to enter. The nervous party members reassure him that they have studied the raid guide extensively. The team gathers closely in the dark chamber, mentally preparing for the imminent boss fight. Kaiser notices Shieldbest's hesitation and checks in on him before they make their move. They walk toward the massive decorated wooden doors with a heavy, steady pace. Shieldbest steps forward and places his hand on the magical blue seal to initiate entry. A bright blue notification asks Kaiser to confirm if he agrees to enter the boss chamber. With unified determination, the entire party confirms their readiness and agrees to enter the lair. The colossal double doors slowly grind open, spilling ominous red light and mist into the hall. Clenching his fists with a confident grin, Kaiser prepares to stretch his muscles in real combat. The party stands together, peering into the long dark corridor of the boss room. Flaming torches automatically ignite along the stone walls, lighting a path deeper into the darkness. In the distance stands a hulking red-eyed giant boss identified as the mutant goblin warrior. A massive red-skinned beast grins viciously, hoisting a colossal cleaver onto his armored shoulder. A sudden, deafening sound of clashing steel echoes violently throughout the cavernous chamber. In a future interview, a blonde reporter asks Kaiser the secret behind his party's legendary success. Kaiser casually attributes their dominance to everyone simply executing their assigned combat roles flawlessly. The blonde interviewer notes that a standard balanced party requires a tank, damage dealer, healer, and support. Flashback footage shows Kaiser instantly clashing blades with a massive mutant goblin warrior. Kaiser unleashes his terrifying, godlike combat reflexes, his eyes glowing with a fierce crimson light. With a swift spinning motion, Kaiser delivers a lethal slice directly to the monster's neck. He unleashes a barrage of blindingly fast slashes, completely overwhelming the massive elite boss. Shield Best watches in absolute awe, realizing Kaiser's true identity is that of the ultimate rancor. The enraged mutant goblin prepares to strike back, setting the stage for a spectacular showdown. With eyes blazing a predatory crimson, Kaiser prepares to unleash his ultimate, godlike power. Kaiser strikes with blinding velocity, slicing clean through the air in a flash of blue light. Keeping the pressure high, Kaiser effortlessly executes a lightning-fast combination of devastating slashes. The relentless assault continues as Kaiser delivers 2 more terrifying fluid sword strikes. A system notification confirms Kaiser's soaring sword mastery as he cleaves the giant beast. Kaiser maneuvers with gravity-defying speed, positioning himself perfectly beneath the massive opponent. With glowing red eyes, Kaiser raises his sword to execute the final blow. A colossal pillar of energy erupts, cutting directly through the giant boss monster. The mutant goblin screeches in pure agony as blood splatters across the chamber. In a cloud of dust, the defeated titan crashes heavily to the cavern floor. Glowing system notifications officially announce the successful clearance of the dungeon boss. Remaining party members stare in absolute awe of the slain creature's massive corpse. Shield Best and Forehead here discuss Kaiser's true identity, beginning to suspect his legendary status. Shield Best wonders aloud if their mysterious teammate is actually the legendary player Kaiser. Forehead here gasps in pure shock as the truth of their companion begins to sink in. The stunned teammates gaze toward their carry, utterly speechless at his unbelievable power. Standing triumphantly atop the fallen monster, Kaiser casually sheathes his deadly blade. The system screen reveals they shattered the top time attack record by an incredible margin. Kaiser tightly grips his weapon's hilt as the victory rewards begin to finalize. A flashing system announcement confirms their squad has reclaimed the coveted first-place ranking. Blue Window rewards Kaiser for securing the absolute highest contribution in the raid. Legendary red loot, including armor pieces, manifests as rewards for conquering the boss. Kaiser secures a colossal red greatsword and unlocks an elite time attack exclusive title. The newly unlocked heroic title bestows massive permanent stat boost to Kaiser's attributes. Resting his massive blade on his shoulder, Kaiser reflects on the ease of the battle. With a cold grin and glowing eyes, Kaiser asserts his absolute dominance over goblins. In a flashback, an interviewer questions Kaiser's ability to raid successfully without a tank. Kaiser acknowledges the importance of tanks, but remains completely unbothered by their absence. He explains how standard tanks are meant to absorb hits and disrupt monster attacks. Blonde interviewer looks completely baffled by Kaiser's unconventional logic. Kaiser flashes a smug, knowing grin, fully aware of his own game-breaking capabilities. Back in the battle, the monstrous goblin bellows a terrifying battle cry. Shield Best watches in disbelief, questioning how Kaiser's bizarre tactics are even possible. Shield Best marvels at how Kaiser easily breaks boss attack patterns without using crowd control. With flawless reflexes, Kaiser executes a rapid parry, cutting through the monster's weapon. Massive boss swings a heavy hammer, but Kaiser remains entirely unfazed. Kaiser confidently moves forward, treating the boss's fearsome attack patterns like child's play. Kaiser effortlessly redirects the giant cleaver with a powerful, glowing horizontal slash. The amazed teammates watch Kaiser continuously exploit and shred the giant's weak points. Shield Best's jaw drops in sheer disbelief at the masterclass of combat before him. A critical alert indicates the mutant goblin's health has plummeted to 20%. Shield Best quickly commands the party to brace themselves for the boss's second phase. Readying their weapons, the archer and mage eagerly prepare to assist their carry. A red system warning flashes as the boss's health drops past the critical threshold. The ground shakes as the boss activates its specialized combat crate. Terrifying crimson aura erupts from the mutant goblin as it roars in fury. The system warns that the boss has entered a highly dangerous berserk state. Kaiser readies his blade with a calm grin as the monster's true mutation triggers. Dark silhouette reveals the ominous activation of the boss's highly volatile mutation. The system details a lethal set of rules, revealing the boss's nickname to be Russian Roulette. The ultimate battle begins with a cruel twist as the dungeon's ruthless rules flash before them. With a deafening roar that rattles the cavern walls, the monstrous goblin mutant prepares to crush the invaders. Ominous system alerts confirm their party stats are plummeting under the boss's oppressive aura. Panic spreads through the backline as the archer and mage struggle against the crippling debuffs. In a stunning turn of events, Kaiser's legendary hero trait activates to shield his mind from the corruption. A wicked grin crosses Kaiser's face as he realizes he is completely immune to the boss's specialized traits. Desperate to survive, the shield warrior orders the team to prioritize dodging and avoid making any missteps. Worried about their frontliner, the shield warrior asks if Kaiser is also vulnerable to the deadly mechanics. Kaiser casually steps past his ally, telling him to sit back and watch how a master operates. With glowing red eyes, Kaiser confidently promises to make quick work of the colossal beast. The shield warrior stands completely frozen, unable to comprehend the sheer audacity of his teammate. Slicing through the air with gravity-defying grace, Kaiser launches himself directly toward the raging behemoth. The mutant goblin swings its giant weapon, aiming to squash the approaching challenger. A violent clash of steel erupts as Kaiser flawlessly parries the overwhelming blow. With unmatched focus and lethal intent, Kaiser zeroes in on the monster's vital blind spots. Blood sprays across the chamber as Kaiser unleashes a devastating assault, tearing the Titan apart. Back in the safety of the rear, the archer and mage watch in absolute shock at Kaiser's unstoppable momentum. Shield warrior struggles to make sense of Kaiser's godlike performance and bizarre class abilities. Staring in awe, the warrior begins to recognize the familiar shadow of a legendary champion. One final blinding strike cuts through the darkness, sealing the fate of the mutant beast. Colossal Bus crashes to the floor, defeated in record time by a single player's unmatched skill. Stepping into a quiet, mysterious alchemist shop, the party marvels at the bizarre magical interior. Kaiser senses a peculiar presence lurking within the shadows of the cozy room. A mysterious, dark-hooded figure sits silently behind the counter, observing the newcomers with piercing yellow eyes. The shadowy merchant, revealed to be the alchemist Chaldee, demands to know who has entered his domain. The party whispers nervously, deeply unnerved by the alchemist's ominous and creepy demeanor. Chaldee mocks the group, assuming they are just another set of failures who have come to surrender. The alchemist laments that his research is stalled due to a severe lack of rare mutant goblin blood. Without saying a word, Kaiser slams a glowing vial of the legendary monster blood directly onto the counter. Chaldee gasps in sheer disbelief, utterly shocked that they completed the impossible quest in under an hour. Party strikes a smug, triumphant pose basked in the glory of their lightning-fast victory. A system notification reveals that the alchemist's favor toward Kaiser is instantly skyrocketed to the maximum level. Brilliant blue screens reward Kaiser with precious gold, massive experience points, and a rare silver ring. Rapid notifications flash before him, confirming multiple level-ups as the power continues to soar. A final system prompt grants him access to the main continent alongside a low-tier skill ticket. The entire party celebrates wildly, thrilled to finally advance to the long-awaited main continent. A rare postcard from the alchemist appears, hinting at a secret reward left behind for his favorite adventurer. Kaiser shrugs off the mysterious note, deciding to investigate the letter at a later time. His focus shifts instantly to the true treasure waiting to be claimed. Kaiser prepares to redeem his hard-earned skill ticket, recalling a moment he has anticipated since the Pantheon. A digital deck of glowing blue cards materializes, ready to bestow a new power upon him. Pillars of brilliant blue light erupt around Kaiser as the card ritual initiates. Floating cards circle him, though Kaiser finds the visual flair somewhat lackluster compared to past legendary summons. Activating his Eye of Truth, Kaiser's eyes glow with a piercing gold as he analyzes the hidden rewards. He quickly sifts through the low-tier options, unimpressed by the common selection before him. A system window reveals he has unlocked Charging Slash, a common-tier sword technique with versatile mobility. Kaiser fondly remembers using this exact skill in his past life, treating it as a decent start for his journey. The system presents his next choice, a random skill ticket capable of rolling up to legendary rarity. With high hopes, Kaiser presses the confirm button to test his luck once again. Suddenly, a warning screen appears, detailing a system designed to prevent extreme game addiction. Kaiser panics in sheer disbelief upon realizing he has played for 10 hours. With sweat dripping down his face, he frantically commands the system to hurry up. His anxiety spikes as he desperately begs the game interface to process faster. A magical selection of glowing blue cards appears to grant his rewards. In a devastating twist, the system forcibly logs Kaiser out of the game. Meanwhile, the mutant goblin boss crumbles as the dungeon clear message pops up. He unlocks rare red-grade leather chest armor and matching protective pludrons. The ultimate prize materializes as the heavy mutant goblin warrior greatsword. A legendary title card bestows the heroic grade Throne of Time attack title. The victorious party inspects their high-tier loot screens in the dark cave. The archer and mage gasp in absolute awe at the rare casting options. Overwhelmed with gratitude, the two teammates bow and thank Kaiser for the carry. Kaiser downplays his legendary performance, offering a casual and humble smile. The young swordsman is caught off guard when the shield warrior calls him. The shield warrior nervously asks Kaiser to look at the new dungeon rankings. A glowing blue interface displays their party sitting proudly in first place. Shield Best feels deeply apologetic for registering the achievement under his own party name. Kaiser calmly brushes it off, pointing out the immense privilege of the ranking. A majestic red banner appears as they discuss the chances of being recruited. Shield Best remains downcast, feeling guilty about taking credit for a starter dungeon run. A silhouette of a red-haired warrior hints at the legendary rank of Exterminator. Desperate to make amends, the Shield Warrior offers to pay monetary compensation. Shield Best's jaw drops when Kaiser casually tells him not to worry. Kaiser happily notes that he never even expected them to place first. He reassures his teammate that having a name on a list is trivial. Inwardly, Kaiser notes that attracting unwanted public spotlight is a massive hassle. A sinister, blue glowing grin spreads across Kaiser's face as his greed takes over. Full specifications of the legendary mutant warrior set are detailed on screen. A collection of rare and powerful fantasy weapons floats in the cosmos. Kaiser is absolutely thrilled at the prospect of equipping such elite gear. He can barely contain his explosive excitement over his incredible loot haul. He bursts into loud, maniacal laughter, leaving Shield Best completely unnerved. Kaiser suddenly freezes, realizing he has let his unhinged thoughts leak out. With flawless composure, he flashes a reassuring smile to calm his teammate. Backline teammates cheer wildly, assuming Kaiser possesses an incredibly noble heart. The archer admits to Shield Best that Kaiser's reputation is entirely justified.
They gaze at their powerful leader as he stands before the blue portal.
Kaiser steps forward and invites his companions to join him in leaving. Their heavy boots step in unison into the glowing blue teleportation light. Swirling magical currents envelop the party as they begin their transit. The dungeon cave fades away as bright portal magic consumes the screen. High towers and sunny skies mark their successful arrival on the continent. A potion bottle sign reveals they have arrived in the back alley of Aria. A brief flashback shows Kaiser's frantic race against the daily play limit. He desperately recalls the exact moment the system forcibly disconnected him. Back in the game, Kaiser stands proudly overlooking the breathtaking city of Raven. Elite knights on horseback march through the main gates, commanding the crowd. Armed guards drag a bound, struggling outlaw who screams at his captors. System Windows officially welcome Kaiser to the main continent, unlocking advanced features. A dark castle silhouette marks the grand beginning of his journey in Raven. Stepping onto the breathtaking main continent, Kaiser immediately marvels at the grand fantasy cityscape around him. A friendly local tavern merchant warmly welcomes him to Raven, suggesting he try the city's famous gray ale. Enthusiastic street vendors boast about their fresh lobster and hearty hot stews, eager to win over the stylish newcomer. Taking in the lively streets, Kaiser finally understands why players get distracted from hunting just to sightsee. Shaking off the pleasant distractions, Kaiser slaps his cheeks to refocus his mind on the grind ahead. He decides that exploring the leisurely sights can wait until his pockets are truly full. With a confident smile, Kaiser draws his heavy greatsword, ready to dive straight into his first hunt. In a flash of blood and steel, a savage goblin is instantly cleaved in half by a devastating glow. Out on the vast green fields of the Raven Plains, Kaiser effortlessly tears through the local monster population. Crouching low in a dark crimson aura, his legendary warrior gear set activates its passive boost. A wave of absolute terror washes over the remaining goblins, instantly crushing their morale and leaving them paralyzed. Unloading a lightning-fast charging slash, Kaiser sweeps across the battlefield in a deadly streak of red light. Blood sprays across the grass as system alerts confirm multiple goblin kills under the immense power of his gear. Sliding gracefully to a halt, Kaiser maintains perfect balance as the dust of his attack settles. His eyes glow with a menacing red light as the defeated monsters collapse behind his unstoppable figure. A system notification rewards him with an attack power boost, leaving Kaiser highly impressed by the sheer efficiency of his set. He proudly inspects his growing weapon, ecstatic about the high raw stats and scaling damage options. Overflowing with pure joy, a chibi Kaiser celebrates the absolute thrill of easily stopping low-level mobs. Reviewing his floating quest screens, he happily notes that his next level up is just around the corner. Suddenly, his eyes flare with a piercing gold as his sensory abilities pick up an unexpected movement. Spinning around, Kaiser spots a stealthy player enveloped in a malicious purple aura leaping from the brush. The glowing purple assassin sneers, greedily eyeing Kaiser's rare warrior set as the perfect prey. With a sinister smirk, the attacker readies his twin daggers for a sudden backstab. Believing he has the upper hand, the purple PKer lunges forward to claim his prize. Sparks erupt as the sharp dagger strikes Kaiser's heavy pauldrons, failing to leave even a single scratch. The blade screeches uselessly against the heavy armor, completely negated by Kaiser's high defenses. The assassin's eyes widen in absolute disbelief as his lethal ambush is effortlessly bounced back. Kaiser turns slowly, unleashing a suffocating red aura that instantly terrifies his attacker. Panicking, the nimble assassin flips backward to put distance between himself and the monstrous Tink. Desperate to survive, the retreating leader screams at his hidden party members to ambush Kaiser together. High above, an all-out archer leaps into the air, unleashing a barrage of glowing blue energy arrows. Kaiser casually twirls his giant greatsword, deflecting every single projectile with effortless grace. Another hidden ally, a muscular axe wielder, charges forward with a ferocious battle cry. Kaiser effortlessly absorbs the heavy overhead chops, sparks flying as his colossal sword blocks the blow. With a sharp twist of his blade, Kaiser breaks the giant axe's momentum, exposing the attacker's defense. Realigning his grip on his massive weapon, Kaiser prepares to deliver a swift and decisive counterstrike. A devastating horizontal slash tears through the axe wielder, sending blood spraying into the air as he falls. The surviving ambushers watch in pure unadulterated terror as their heavy hitter is dismantled in seconds. The assassin leader flees in a panic, unable to comprehend how a supposed newbie could possess such godlike strength. Leaping desperately to escape, the black-haired assassin looks back to see Kaiser closely tracking his desperate retreat. Kaiser instantly closes the gap, looming directly over the trembling assassin like a towering nightmare. A wicked, bone-chilling grin spreads across Kaiser's face as he prepares to completely wipe out his attackers. Just as he is about to strike, a glaring system notification flashes, warning him of a forced logout due to his daily play limit. Back in the physical world, a young man wearing a high-tech VR helmet and camouflage shirt sits frozen in his pod. Reeling from the sudden disconnection, the player groans in intense frustration at the terrible timing. He lets out a furious, muffled scream inside his helmet, completely enraged at being pulled out mid-combat. Outside, a peaceful and bright sky shines down upon a massive modern city apartment complex. Under his desk, the young man impatiently bounces his legs, unable to calm his racing adrenaline. Staring at his digital desk clock hitting exactly 10, he realizes his cooldown is finally over. Tearing off his VR helmet, the determined black-haired gamer leaps out of his capsule, ready to dive back into the fight. After an excruciatingly long lockout, the high-tech VR capsule initiates its neural synchronization sequence to log our hero back into God of Savior. The virtual world materializes as he spawns in the tranquil back alleys of Arde City. Without wasting a single second, the black-haired gamer sprints frantically down the cobblestone streets. He bites his thumb anxiously, desperately needing to check the rewards from his sudden logout yesterday. Opening his inventory, he accesses the glowing skill card storage menu. The card glows with a disappointing golden hue, letting him down after his recent run of insane luck. His disappointment instantly vanishes as the system reveals he has unlocked a heroic-grade backstab skill. This lethal technique is the ultimate signature move of high-tier assassin players. It allows quick closing of distances, making it a complete nightmare for squishy range dealers. A deeply sinister grin spreads across his face as he realizes the sheer PvP potential of his new skill. Clutching his head in pure ecstasy, he rejoices at how easily he can now dominate both players and monsters alike. Two passing players, a young man and a woman in matching green uniforms, stop as they spot his bizarre behavior. They watch in utter bewilderment as the strange traveler begins muttering and laughing to himself in the alleyway. Kaiser lets out an unhinged, red aura-infused laugh, completely lost in his dark fantasies of total power. Terrified by his deeply unstable expression, the couple decides it is much safer to take a completely different street. They hurriedly flee up the stairs, desperate to get away from the apparent madman. Snapping out of his delusion, the black-haired warrior looks around, completely confused by their sudden panicked escape. Shrugging off the odd interaction, he happily turns back to his interface to equip his hard-earned high-tier gear. A system screen displays the powerful raw stats of his rare mutant goblin warrior set and a custom silver ring. Fully equipped in heavy crimson leather and pauldrons, he smiles confidently, ready to conquer the main continent. A swirling titanic blue vortex of magic manifests in the narrow streets, signaling his departure portal. Looking back one last time, he remembers his abrupt disconnection the previous day. He feels a brief pang of regret for not being able to properly bid farewell to his starter party. He reassures himself that if destiny permits, their paths will surely cross again in the vast world ahead. As the portal countdown hits its final second, he steps forward into the brilliant teleportation light. Emerging on the other side, he is greeted by a breathtaking, bustling metropolis filled with hopeful graduates. This massive continent serves as a global hub where elite players from all over the world gather to form new parties. However, where great players gather, dark forces and ruthless predators also wait in the shadows. In this lawless territory, players engage in brutal, unsanctioned conflicts far outside the safety of official arenas. Ruthless player killers hunt down the weak, turning the wilderness into a bloody, lawless battleground. Unbothered by the dangers, Kaiser immediately leaps into action on the plains, swinging his giant red greatsword. With a single devastating arc, he brutally cleaves a red goblin archer completely in half. He unleashes a whirlwind of slashes, effortlessly tearing through the local monster population in a flurry of steel. Suddenly, a system warning flashes. His temporary warrior set buffs have expired, leaving him surrounded by hostile mobs. Sensing his vulnerability, the remaining horde of red goblins charges forward with bloodthirsty screams. Calmly assessing the threat, Kaiser swaps his massive greatsword for a lightning-charged magic dagger. In a blinding streak of blue energy, he activates his newly acquired backstab skill. He instantly teleports behind the lead goblin, driving his blade straight into its back with lethal precision. He swiftly rotates his arsenal, pulling out a heavy battle axe as more monsters close in on his position. With a massive sweeping spin, he cleanses the surrounding area in a devastating circle of blood and iron. The sheer force of his heavy physical strike obliterates his targets, sending blood spraying across the forest floor. Gazing at the carnage, Kaiser smirks, highly impressed by the raw power and satisfying weight of the war axe. A system alert confirms his clean sweep, rewarding him for slaying the forest red goblins. Just as he prepares to leave, a massive tremor suddenly ripples through the ground, shattering the stone beneath him. He pauses his quest menu review, realizing his peaceful grinding session is about to be rudely interrupted. He turns his head sharply, his sharp senses picking up an oncoming threat of colossal proportions. Terrifying multi-legged red centipede monster bursts violently from the shattered earth, towering over him. The massive boss monster screeches menacingly, dripping highly toxic purple venom from its razor-sharp mandibles. Kaiser's confident smirk completely vanishes as he realizes he might have bitten off more than he can chew. Meanwhile, deep in the shadows, a sadistic rogue licks blood off his blade, eagerly hunting for his next victim on the continent. Ruthless player killers target vulnerable players who have just barely left the safety of starter towns. And the dark reality of this lawless wilderness stands right before our hero. Looming like an absolute nightmare, the black-haired warrior completely catches his attacker off guard from behind. A terrifyingly wicked grin spreads across Kaiser's face as he prepares to deliver divine retribution. Sweat dripping in pure terror, the cornered assassin realizes his victim just executed a lethal backstab. Confused and horrified, the black-haired assassin questions how a heavy swordsman could possibly execute an assassin-exclusive backstab. In a single instant, a devastating strike tears through the air, sending blood spraying everywhere. System notifications confirm the successful elimination of the hostile player killers, identifying them as notorious evildoers. Standing victoriously over his fallen foe, Kaiser reviews a system prompt confirming no karma penalty for self-defense. This brutal, cutthroat player-killing atmosphere instantly reminds him of his past legendary days in Demrock. He realizes that the starter city of Arde was merely a rare, protected haven for beginners. He briefly reminisces about the unusually kind, supportive companions he left behind in that starting zone. Staring at the dissolving digital remains, he accepts that this vast world is crawled with ruthless predators. Deciding to put the encounter aside, the black-haired warrior retrieves a glowing key to claim his rewards. A brilliant blue system window flashes to announce his official level up. Reaching level 17 grants him immediate access to pass through the heavily guarded West Gate. Walking up to the towering wooden barricade, Kaiser confidently prepares to face the new challenges beyond. Beyond lies the infamous Raven West Forest, a dark and ominous woodland shrouded in crimson mist. A panicked brown-clothed town NPC frantically warns him about the extreme dangers of this avoided hunting ground. Unlike the wide-open eastern plains, this dark forest offers cramped visibility and crawls with deadly giant insects. Hidden goblins constantly launch sudden ambushes, while predatory wasps strike unsuspecting players from the shadows. The extreme difficulty of the forest has birthed an absolute unwritten rule among all local adventurers. No player should ever dare to enter the woods without a balanced party of at least 3. Outside the massive stone archway of the West Gate, desperate players crowd together to form survival parties. Eager recruits shout out across the square, desperately searching for tanks, damage dealers, and anyone who can carry them. A silver-armored knight notes to his team that they desperately need a healer, but none are in sight. The green-hooded archer sighs, complaining that healers are incredibly rare because they are tedious to play and level. Suddenly, the black-haired warrior in the tan tunic points toward the gate, drawing his companion's attention. He mockingly compares the solo warrior entering the dangerous gate to a foolish moth flying straight into a flame. The silver-armored knight scoffs, noting that even top-tier rankers would never dare to enter the West Gate alone. Watching the solo traveler walk away, the party laughs at his apparent arrogance and suicidal confidence. Completely unbothered by their mocking remarks, Kaiser wears a confident smirk as he steps into the woods. With a swift horizontal slash, Kaiser instantly bisects an ambushing red goblin, marking the return of an unrivaled genius. He fluidly transitions his stance, using a heavy war axe to crush another charging monster into the dirt. Suddenly, a stealthy red goblin assassin leaps down from the high branches to strike his blind spot. Kaiser reacts in a split second, forcefully driving his massive greatsword deep into the forest floor. Using the planted sword as a pivot, he gracefully vaults over the incoming attack with perfect acrobatic poise. He spins his body around the hilt of his weapon, turning defense into an immediate fluid counterattack. With immense physical force, Kaiser delivers a powerful kick that sends the flying goblin hurtling backward. The monster crashes violently onto the rocky ground, coughing up blood from the devastating impact. Without letting up, Kaiser unleashes a massive sweeping red slashing shockwave to finish off his dazed target. Mid-swing, his sharp reflexes alert him to 3 lethal throwing daggers zooming directly toward his head. With effortless grace, Kaiser sweeps his colossal blade to deflect every single projectile in a shower of sparks. High above, a shocked goblin archer shrieks in disbelief as Kaiser instantly leaps up to close the gap. Startled forest birds scatter into the hazy sky, leaving a brief moment of eerie silence. Suddenly, a giant multi-legged red centipede bursts from the canopy to clash with the airborne warrior. Crashing back down, Kaiser quickly maneuvers away as the giant screeching boss monster destroys the ground behind him. Sometime later in the safe zone, Kaiser gently pats a young girl's head, kindly telling her to be more careful with her belongings. The young girl beams with a brilliant, joyful smile as a system window activates her maxed favorite title. Watching her wave goodbye cheerfully, Kaiser smiles back, amused by how incredibly fast his reputation rose.
Kaiser walks through the town streets, setting his sights on clearing his next quest. A rare quest notification tasks him with clearing a dungeon outside the West Gate.
2 perilous dungeons lie ahead, the Goblin Chieftain's Lair and the dangerous ant nest. Kaiser decides the Goblin dungeon suits his gear better, but soloing is extremely risky.
Seeking to keep his secret abilities hidden, he hesitates to join a party.
A massive crowd of adventurers gathers right outside the entrance of the Goblin Chieftain's lair. Desperate recruitment cries echo through the crowd as players search for high-level fire mages. Blacksmiths and merchants actively peddle instant weapon repairs and junk purchases to passing adventurers. Kaiser walks through the chaotic gathering, surprised to see so many crafters present. A high-level knight bluntly rejects a thief-class player, questioning his conscience. Knight ruthlessly denies another hopeful recruit, emphasizing class bias within party selections. Greedy parties aggressively swarm a rare mage, desperate to recruit her for the run. Kaiser is suddenly spotted and invited to join an active group of adventurers. In this specific dungeon, elemental mages are considered gods while other classes struggle. Kaiser slumps in disappointment, fully aware that swordsmen are deemed completely useless here. A sudden voice calls out to Kaiser, catching his immediate attention. A friendly knight invites him to join, completely unfazed by Kaiser's swordsman class. The party reassures him that their higher level makes his class choice completely irrelevant. Sensing a hidden trap, Kaiser suspiciously decides to play along for the time being. Kaiser accepts the invitation, prompting the friendly knight to send a party request. Kaiser reviews the newly formed party screen, noting their high player levels. Kaiser stares at the interface, his sharp instincts warning him about these suspicious players. The friendly mask slips, revealing their true murderous intent as player killers who recognize him. With a furious battle cry, the warrior charges headfirst into the deadly conflict. Kaiser unleashes a devastating downward slash from above, targeting the colossal insect. A sinister, battle-hungry smirk spreads across his face as his red eyes gleam. The massive insect boss screeches in absolute shock at his terrifying speed. A perfect, swirling crescent of crimson light cleanly cuts through the beast's hard carapace. The beast shrieks in agony as a spray of toxic green blood bursts from its face. With a thunderous crash, the colossal monster is slammed brutally into the shattered earth. Kaiser lands flawlessly amidst the rising dust cloud, keeping his weapon ready. Refusing to go down easily, the relentless insect boss rears back up to strike. Kaiser locks his eyes onto the target, refusing to let his guard down. Steel clashes against razor-sharp mandibles and a heavy shower of brilliant orange sparks. Kaiser grits his teeth, feeling the immense raw physical pressure of the boss's counterattack. Kaiser draws a glowing blue blade, disgusted by the monster's hideous appearance. Kaiser slashes outward, demanding the creature back off from his face. A precise strike slices deep into the monster's head, releasing more toxic fluid. Summoning his inner strength, Kaiser prepares to deliver a decisive heavy blow. His greatsword carves a deadly arc, slicing clean through the monster's defenses. A crushing vertical strike splits the colossal beast wide open. The titan finally collapses into the dirt, its long body completely paralyzed. Multiple system screens confirm his hard-earned level up and upgraded sword mastery. A heavy stone barricade crumbles, revealing a hidden passage. Kaiser reviews his impressive stat gains, thrilled to have gained 2 levels so quickly. Reflecting on his solo grind, he is pleased with his rapid progress. He ponders his next move, wondering what tasks are left on his checklist. He spots a simple quest to retrieve a lost pendant for a girl named Camilla. Confident in his abilities, he considers this simple fetch quest an easy task. Kaiser heads deeper into the forest, completely unaware of the deadly trap that awaits him. In a world where one wrong step means instant death, a large crowd of adventurers is ordered by an armored organizer to line up and avoid cutting since everyone is busy. Tensions quickly rise in the queue as one adventurer warns another not to push, which the accused player immediately denies. Watching the commotion from a safe distance, Kaiser inspects the nearby foliage and identifies the specific tree where the quest pendant is known to respawn. Kaiser feels relieved that the line isn't too long, noting that a massive crowd would make this simple task take forever. Suddenly, Kaiser's sharp hearing picks up a nearby rumor as an adventurer asks his partner if they heard about the high bounty placed on the Smurf hunters. The black-haired companion smiles and confirms he knows all about the notorious target named Assassin Boy. The armored warrior scoffs, saying the PKer was simply showing off and finally got exactly what he deserved. A blonde swordsman chimes in, mentioning he heard the target was screaming about some guy named Kaiser right before his defeat. Kaiser's eyes widen in complete shock as he wonders why his name is already being discussed among random players. The blonde player laughs off the rumors, claiming it must be a fanboy since a swordsman using a backstab skill makes absolutely no sense. As the party laughs at the absurdity, Kaiser crosses his arms and wisely decides he needs to lay low for a while. The system narration highlights the sheer impossibility of a swordsman possessing 6 distinct traits and using high-level assassin skills. Kaiser knows that there is no way the powerful player guilds will ignore such an unnatural and powerful combination. He anticipates that while some guilds might offer him a hand, far more will try to eliminate him early to protect their dominance. He reflects on the cutthroat nature of elite players, noting that ex-Demrock guild leaders would rather break a rising star than let someone else have him. Putting the dangerous thoughts aside, a system screen alerts Kaiser that he has successfully retrieved the lost pendant from the branches. Kaiser holds the glowing gold pendant, looking determined to finish his task. The scene shifts to the sunlit terracotta rooftops of Raven, where a happy voice celebrates the return of the precious keepsake. Kaiser hands the item back to the brown-haired girl named Camilla, who joyfully thanks her big brother as the system confirms the quest's completion. A brilliant system notification confirms Kaiser has leveled up to 20. To show her gratitude, Camilla hands over a glowing gold box, explaining that she collects strange items as a hobby and wants him to have her favorite random gift. Nearby, a hostile group of adventurers spots him, with the blonde paladin pointing out that his unique warrior armor and massive greatsword confirm his identity as Kaiser. The brown-haired warrior plots a trap, wearing a sinister, glowing-eyed smile as he notes that Kaiser's gear setup is incredibly rare at this stage. The brown-haired leader approaches Kaiser, masking his deadly intentions behind a friendly smile as he invites the solo warrior to join their party. A sudden shockwave of battle energy sweeps across the rocky cavern floor. Once inside the dungeon, the brown-haired warrior commands Kaiser to handle the incoming elite soldiers while they take care of the rest. As elite red-skinned goblins charge forward, the blonde paladin yells out Kaiser's name in utter confusion. The brown-haired warrior looks around the empty cave in a furious rage, screaming to know where Kaiser disappeared to. Realizing they have been tricked, the paladin shouts that Kaiser saw through their ambush while the red-haired mage frantically warns them to watch their front. The brown-haired warrior spins around in sudden panic as threat approaches. A giant elite goblin swings his massive blade at the warrior. The blonde paladin takes a brutal impact, grunting in pain as his shield barely holds. The brown-haired leader struggles to block his opponent, desperately ordering the red-haired mage to use her magic to kill the beast quickly. The red-haired mage summons a massive flaming boulder to crush enemies. A sudden crimson slash cleanly cuts through her conjured rock spell. The red-haired mage stands frozen in absolute shock at the counterattack. A massive crimson skin foot stamps heavily onto the dry, cracked earth. A system profile introduces the massive rare dungeon boss, Goblin Chieftain. As the paladin turns around to state they will hold the monster's aggro, he is suddenly distracted by unexpected footsteps behind him. Two dark boots step forward as footsteps echo through the cavern. The red-haired mage turns in absolute horror, gasping and asking how this bastard could possibly be here. Kaiser calmly steps out of the darkness with his giant greatsword over his shoulder, mockingly asking if they were friends with Assassin Boy. Kaiser smiles with glowing red eyes, asking if they were allies. Terrified as her team is overwhelmed by goblins, the red-haired mage desperately pleads, admitting they are enemies but suggesting they work together to clear the dungeon first. Kaiser acts reasonable, resting his massive blade on his shoulder as he agrees that working as a team makes logical sense. Mage eagerly falls for the axe, starting to say they should focus on clearing the zone, only to gasp in sudden shock. Sudden, swift slice sends blood splattering across the dark cave. Kaiser's glowing red eyes slice through darkness as he strikes. Kaiser flashes a terrifyingly cold, sinister smile as he flatly rejects her proposal.
Kaiser mockingly reminds his dying target that he is a swordsman.
An eerie silence fills the dark cavern as a hidden trap prepares to spring on our unsuspecting hero.
A system blue screen confirms they have entered the rare high-stakes Goblin Chieftain's lair. The party easily cuts down a red goblin scout, effortlessly securing their first victory. The smug frontliners laugh off the dungeon's difficulty, boastfully claiming the raid is a total joke. Kaiser quietly analyzes his temporary teammates, acknowledging their surprisingly solid coordination and high damage output.
Suddenly, system alerts announce that the frightened chieftain is launching his soldiers into battle.
Eerie screeching echoes through the dark as the goblin horde begins its relentless charge. Brown-haired warrior asks Kaiser to step up next, falsely promising swift backup if things get too dangerous. The red-haired mage urges Kaiser to grab the monster's attention to test their synergy, pledging total support. Kaiser instantly sees through their game, noting they are testing his raw combat limits. He agrees to play along for now, confidently stepping forward to face the incoming threats. A massive shockwave erupts as Kaiser unleashes a brutal strike against his foes. Kaiser's heavy blade carves a bloody path, effortlessly tearing through the goblin vanguard. The plotting warriors wear sinister grins, confirming that they have successfully baited the exact target they wanted. The brown-haired leader asks for an evaluation, and the paladin admits Kaiser's combat performance is quite impressive. Watching him fight, they analyze his swift defensive maneuvers and his incredibly high movement speed despite wielding a colossal sword. However, the brown-haired leader narrows his eyes, sensing that something is deeply suspicious about Kaiser's style. The paladin asks what is wrong, prompting the warrior to wonder how a high-tier player like Assassin Boy lost to a geared-up newcomer. He admits Kaiser has damage and speed, but questions how a top-tier stealth assassin with poison lost even with a 3-on-1 advantage. The red-haired mage dismisses their worries, reminding them that their sole mission is simply to assassinate Kaiser. The brown-haired warrior eagerly agrees, plotting to end the execution quickly and cleanly. The paladin flashes a murderous smirk, eager to initiate their lethal trap. They confidently advance, boasting about how smoothly their murderous setup is executing. Kaiser ruthlessly delivers another fatal blow to a charging monster. The brown-haired warrior approaches with a fake smile, loudly praising Kaiser's impressive combat skills. The paladin falsely claims they only tagged along as backup, noting Kaiser could easily solo the entire zone.
Kaiser puts on a friendly, humble mask to keep his enemies completely unsuspecting.
The paladin jokingly wonders why they invited such a monster, prompting the smug warrior to boast about his eye for talent. Underneath his polite smile, Kaiser is disgusted by their brazen and shameless betrayal. He knows they would have abandoned him to die or happily looted his rare equipment from his corpse. The leader suggests they end their break, prompting mutual agreements as they prepare to venture deeper. While the traitor plots to quietly execute him, Kaiser silently vows to turn the tables on them first. The brown-haired warrior steps up, aggressively engaging the next group of monsters. The paladin takes a heavy blow, struggling to keep his defensive guard up. The red-haired mage screams in terror as a deadly threat emerges directly behind her unguarded position. The warrior angrily demands the mage aim properly, while she defensively claims the goblin moved unexpectedly. The sweating paladin weakly suggests that these swift monsters must just be incredibly lucky.
Kaiser mockingly realizes they couldn't even strike his wide-open back, deciding to bide his time a little longer.
The massive stone doors of the inner sanctum slowly rumble open, revealing the final boss arena. An ominous red aura instantly washes over the party as they step inside. System alerts flash as towering red goblin elite soldiers charge to defend their sanctuary. The elite monsters leap from the shadows with weapons raised for battle.
Kaiser calmly emerges from the shadows, wearing a cold, mocking expression on his face.
The cornered mage desperately begs for her life, openly admitting their hostile intentions. The heavily wounded paladin gasps in sheer disbelief at their sudden defeat. A final system screen confirms the permanent death of the traitorous paladin player. Because he eliminated murderous player killers, Kaiser's system karma remains completely unaffected. Kaiser reviews his updated stat profile, highly pleased with the massive strength boost he secured. Suddenly, the colossal goblin chieftain looms behind him, ready to unleash its fury. The monstrous boss lets out a deafening roar, seeking bloody vengeance for its fallen warriors. Just when he thinks his betrayers are dealt with, Kaiser turns in shock as a new threat emerges. Kaiser realizes he still has the colossal red-skinned goblin chieftain to defeat. With glowing red eyes, Kaiser smiles, eager to test his limits in combat. The giant red goblin roars furiously as it leaps down to crush its target. Kaiser firmly plants his foot, prepared to strike. A massive sonic boom echoes across the cavern floor. Kaiser leaps forward, delivering a brutal kick straight into the giant chieftain's face. The red-skinned goblin monster spits blood, roaring in agony from the direct hit. Kaiser gracefully lands after delivering a lightning-fast aerial counterattack. System warns that the goblin chieftain has activated its unique defense trait. Kaiser readies a glowing blue dagger, his eyes blazing red with dark intent. A flash of energy erupts as Kaiser slashes through the monster's defenses. System notifications confirm the monster's health is rapidly dropping below critical levels. The wounded chieftain looks back in absolute shock at his opponent's power. Enveloped in a menacing red aura, Kaiser slowly marches toward the terrified boss monster. Kaiser wields the glowing dagger, declaring his intention to quickly end the fight. The massive goblin lets out a pathetic shriek of absolute terror. In a desperate bid for survival, the giant monster turns and flees. A blue system window confirms Kaiser is activating his stealthy backstab skill. Fleeing chieftain sweats in panic as a shadow looms overhead. Kaiser instantly materializes right next to the massive monster's case. With a sinister smile, Kaiser mockingly questions where the beast thinks it is running. Sometime earlier, the red-haired mage desperately pleads for them to temporarily cooperate and clear the zone. Unmoved by her plea, Kaiser delivers a lethal slash that cuts her down. A system message confirms the death of the traitorous mage player Archmage Stirfry. Kaiser calmly rests his massive greatsword, noting that his victims got what they deserved. Kaiser reflects on his strategy, pleased that using backstab on a corpse was effective. He watches the body fade, satisfied with testing his skills on a fallen target. Shocked by the swift execution, the blonde paladin screams in disbelief over the mage's death. The paladin angrily demands to know if Kaiser is trying to get them all killed. Kaiser smiles darkly, asking the warrior if he knows what his personal creed is. Paladin gasps as Kaiser declares he never allies with backstabbers, revealing a glowing dagger. Kaiser mockingly explains that teaming up with traitors only allows betrayal to spread. The paladin's eyes widen in absolute horror, recognizing the weapon as Assassin Boy's stolen dagger. Kaiser confirms the dagger's origin with a smug smile, letting his enemy know its previous owner is dead. Struggling paladin calls it impossible for a swordsman to use that weapon while blocking a monster. The desperate paladin yells, questioning if Kaiser really thinks he can solo clear this entire dungeon. The paladin boasts that the chieftain's special defense trait entirely blocks physical damage. He sneers that mages are top tier here, mockingly questioning what a tiny dagger can do. Suddenly, the paladin's smug expression vanishes into complete confusion. Kaiser casually asks the warrior how he thinks status effects are classified. The paladin furiously shouts, asking if Kaiser is really relying on a weak bleed effect. Kaiser flashes a terrifying grin, noting a simple bleed effect wouldn't be enough. A massive shockwave explodes as Kaiser unleashes his hidden lethal attack. A crimson slash cleanly tears through the paladin's gold armor. The paladin coughs up blood as system alerts announce a lethal status activation. Notifications confirm the paladin is severely bleeding due to an overwhelming stack out. The paladin panics, unable to comprehend how a lower-level player possesses such monstrous stats. He desperately recalculates the level difference, utterly baffled by Kaiser's terrifying strength. Kneeling in defeat at Kaiser's feet, the paladin despairs over the massive, insurmountable gap between them. But what legendary power will Kaiser unleash next? Kaiser smugly explains his stolen rare bleed skill, a lethal hidden trick that stacks damage to an impossible degree. Notes that normally matching class status effects do not stack, making his build a terrifying rule breaker. Kaiser highlights his ultimate loophole of combining an assassin's weapon with a high-tier thief skill. The bleeding paladin collapses to the cavern floor, completely broken by the overwhelming damage output. Spitting blood, the dying paladin desperately accuses Kaiser of being an illegal hacker. A cold system screen confirms the permanent death of the traitorous player named Bastard Sword. Kaiser sighs in disappointment at his fallen opponent, entirely unfazed by the brutal execution. Suddenly, the surviving brown-haired traitor desperately screams Kaiser's name while being cornered by a monster. Sweating in absolute terror, the brown-haired leader realizes their entire master plan has catastrophically failed. Staring at his dead allies, he hopelessly searches for where everything went so incredibly wrong. A dark demonic shadow of Kaiser looms over the terrified leader, signaling his imminent doom. Shaking in panic, the cornered traitor decides his only remaining option is to run. With blinding speed, Kaiser delivers a lethal backslash that halts the fleeing traitor in his tracks. The leader collapses in agony as a system prompt announces the inescapable bleed status taking effect. Bathed in a dark crimson aura, Kaiser readies his dagger to sweep the remaining threats. A monstrous beast roars in absolute agony as Kaiser's lethal offensive continues to carve forward. An ominous hooded purple goblin sneers from the shadows, mocking the audacity of human intruders. A terrifying swarm of glowing purple undead goblins and giant spiders crawls down to surround Kaiser. System alerts identify the incoming vanguard as a shaman's resurrected undead goblin horde. Colossal undead spiders with glowing purple eyes creep closer, ready to tear their target apart. Kaiser looks on with extreme disgust, deeply repulsed by the hideous appearance of the monsters. From his stone throne, the hooded purple mastermind chuckles sinisterly at the warrior's reaction. The ancient creature reveals his face, introducing himself as the powerful boss Jihad Black. A blue system window details Jihad's status as a legendary 100-year-old goblin necromancer. Kaiser is genuinely surprised to find a highly rare named heroic boss in the secret dungeon. Remembering the incredible loot from his last boss battle, a confident smirk spreads across Kaiser's face. Jihad Black narrows his eyes, highly suspicious of how a mere human managed to discover his Senkim. The ancient necromancer tries to read the intruder, sensing absolutely no trace of a standard explorer. Touching his chin, the boss notes that Kaiser possesses a highly unusual and powerful mixture of auras. Kaiser casually dismisses the threat, mocking the goblin for actually having a decent brain. Jihad Black unleashes a massive wave of dark magic, declaring that escape is entirely impossible. Fueled by the dark energy, the undead horde lunges forward with ravenous glowing eyes. The monstrous creatures dive from the ceiling in a desperate bid to crush the lone intruder. Facing the overwhelming swarm, Kaiser wears a sinister smile as he prepares to strike back. Kaiser transforms into a brilliant blue silhouette, noting that ranged fighters are always vulnerable to melee speed. In a flash of light, Kaiser completely bypasses the horde, materializing directly in the shocked boss's face. Panicked, Jihad Black hastily activates his corpse control and swift hands traits to defend himself. A violent explosion of purple magic detonates as the boss desperately tries to blow his opponent away. The hooded necromancer hovers in the swirling mist, frantically scanning the area for Kaiser's body. Suddenly, the boss freezes in absolute terror as a blinding light illuminates the space directly behind him. He whips his head around in panic, desperately trying to locate his incredibly swift opponent. Bathing the cavern in a blood-red mist, Kaiser stands calmly in the distance, completely unharmed. Kaiser flashes a menacing grin, slowly raising his glowing dagger as the red aura intensifies. Jihad Black gasps in sheer horror as he realizes a deep bleeding wound has already been carved into his chest. Kaiser mockingly notes that the boss should have kept his eyes on his opponent. Cut off from their master's concentration, the undead monsters dissolve into harmless purple vapor. Enraged by the wound, Jihad Black aggressively gathers a sphere of dark purple energy. With a twisted grimace of pure hatred, the boss curses the slippery warrior. He challenges Kaiser's endurance, summoning another massive wave of monsters to test his limits. Kaiser effortlessly leaps into the air, dodging a series of massive magical explosions with spectacular grace. The ultimate showdown begins as a terrifying ancient necromancer lunges forward. Kaiser effortlessly maneuvers through a barrage of lethal flashing purple magic blasts. Kaiser's eyes glow red as he easily predicts the boss's attack trajectory. The necromancer looks on in horror, realizing Kaiser anticipates his every move. Confidently standing amidst dissolving magical vapor, Kaiser completely dominates the battlefield. Screaming in absolute madness, the boss desperately declares this will be Kaiser's end. A colossal, blinding purple explosion completely consumes the entire cave chamber. Kaiser flashes a smug, upside-down smirk, completely unfazed by the blast. The massive red goblin chieftain roars in absolute agony from Kaiser's attack. A massive torrent of dark crimson blood erupts across the screen. Triumphant system notification confirms the legendary goblin chieftain has been slain. Holding up a rare sturdy leather belt drop, Kaiser smirks at his perfect timing. Tapping the system interface, Kaiser equips his new gear, sacrificing 1 stamina point. Kaiser boastfully wishes the dungeon had a leaderboard to showcase his speed. He smirks confidently, satisfied with his overwhelming combat performance. Kaiser notices additional valuable drops scattered across the K4. A system notification displays the rare silver iron shield item. Kaiser picks up the rare paladin shield, noting its high market value. He identifies a rare training sword left behind by his fallen rival. Smirking mockingly, Kaiser bids a final farewell to the deceased role-playing Baladim. Examining a red gemstone necklace, Kaiser decides to sell it for gold. Suddenly, Kaiser's eyes glow bright gold as he senses a strange presence. Kaiser peers down a dark cavern glowing with an ominous red light. Approaching the mysterious red glow, Kaiser wonders if it is a rare herb. A shocking system alert announces the discovery of a hidden shaman's hideout. Kaiser stands before a massive swirling crimson vortex portal. He stares in utter amazement at the legendary secret dungeon portal. The system details different standard dungeon instances, from party zones to labyrinths. It explains that secret dungeons are highly restricted and heavily guarded realms. These exclusive zones are hidden away and require incredibly specific conditions to enter. The system prompt confirms only one survivor remains in the dungeon. Kaiser is stunned to learn that entering required his entire party to perish. He deciphers the brutal, paradoxical requirement of finding a party zone completely alone. Smirking smugly, Kaiser realizes why this secret zone remained hidden for so long. Noting the incredible heroic grade difficulty, Kaiser confidently vows to conquer this dungeon. An expert player's warning compares entering secret dungeons to a fatal suicide mission. A grim textual prompt questions what happens when walking into a predator's jaws. An unsuspecting antelope drinks water, completely oblivious to the massive crocodile waiting below. With blinding speed, the aquatic predator's jaws snap shut on its prey. The narrator warns that secret dungeons lie waiting like patient, hungry beasts. Undeterred by the danger, Kaiser steps boldly toward the crackling red portal. The massive vortex of dark magic begins swallowing Kaiser as he enters. Immediately upon entering, a curse trap strikes Kaiser, inflicting him with dark vision. The system warns that his field of view has been severely restricted. Suddenly, Kaiser's passive hero trait activates, blocking all mental corruption. A bright golden flash erupts as the vision-impairing debuff is instantly ignored. Enveloped in a spectacular golden aura, Kaiser effortlessly cleanses the incoming curse. Kaiser mockingly brushes off the dungeon's pathetic attempt at a welcoming trap. His eyes flash red as he perfectly spots his hidden opponent's targets. Kaiser is surprised to discover an unidentified card drop floating before him, but what game-changing secret does this item hold? Unlocking a legendary secret dungeon rewards a player with incredibly rare items, including exclusive boss records.
Kaiser inspects the mysterious new card drop, assuming it is some kind of enchant.
A sinister, glowing profile of the goblin necromancer Jihad Black appears on the screen. The system explains that guardians, like flame salamanders and golems, exist to protect their users. Kaiser scratches his head, feeling skeptical about the overall utility of a guardian. He recalls legendary divine and holy beasts, which are the only truly worthwhile summons. Dismissing regular guardians as massive money pits, Kaiser clicks the screen to initiate the summon. A massive crackle of lightning strikes the ground, revealing a surprisingly small goblin. The newly summoned miniature goblin panics upon realizing he is facing a human warrior. Kaiser stares in absolute disbelief, questioning if this pathetic creature is truly his guardian. He complains that other players get majestic, powerful guardians like a glowing Pegasus. The tiny goblin collapses in tears, utterly devastated to serve a mere human. Kaiser is thoroughly unimpressed, reviewing the summon's highly questionable traits of bullying the weak. A system warning warns that the untrustworthy summon might backstab Kaiser if loyalty drops. The goblin sneers from the ground, his eyes flashing with a menacing green glow. Realizing what a troublesome summon he received, Kaiser sighs in complete annoyance. The treacherous goblin tries to sneak up on Kaiser, hoping to catch him off guard. Kaiser casually steps forward, instantly startling the cowardly goblin and halting its advance. Terrified, the tiny goblin demands to know what the human is doing. Kaiser turns around, deeply offended that his summon refuses to call him master. With glowing red eyes, Kaiser aggressively questions the goblin's lack of respect. The defenseless goblin shakes in absolute terror under Kaiser's overwhelming dark pressure. Kaiser cracks his knuckles, deciding that a physical attitude adjustment is necessary. The small creature tilts its head in pure confusion, completely unaware of his doom. Wearing a terrifyingly sadistic grin, Kaiser commands the goblin to brace itself. The tiny summon gasps in pure horror as Kaiser prepares his attack. Violent impact sounds echo throughout the dark cave as Kaiser disciplines his disobedient guardian. Multiple system alerts pop up as the terrified goblin's loyalty rapidly increases from the beating. Desperate screams and heavy blows continue to resound deep within the cavern. Meanwhile, the main boss, Jihad Black, boasts about his plan to play with his target. Suddenly, Kaiser appears directly behind the shocked necromancer, pointing out he is out of skills. With a powerful punch, Kaiser strikes the arrogant boss squarely in the face. The force of the blow sends the necromancer flying backwards, spitting dark green fluids. Jihad Black crashes hard against the cavern wall, entirely overwhelmed by Kaiser's sudden physical assault. Bathed in a menacing crimson aura, Kaiser stands over his fallen opponent like a demon. Clinging to his pride, the bleeding boss weakly threatens that he will have his revenge. Entirely unfazed by the threat, Kaiser delivers another brutal punch to the boss's face. Kaiser unleashes a rapid barrage of heavy fists, completely battering the helpless boss. Blinding strikes rain down relentlessly, giving the ancient necromancer absolutely no room to breathe. Kaiser suddenly stops his fist, noticing his knuckles are covered in green blood. The heavily bruised boss cries out in agony, accusing Kaiser of cheating by hitting his bones. Kaiser looks down with a sweating face, highly disappointed by the boss's pathetic pain tolerance. Feeling deeply scammed, Kaiser wonders how such a weak crybaby is classified as heroic grade. A massive magical explosion detonates, showing the boss's previous formidable display of power. Yet despite his grand magic, the boss simply sits weeping on the floor like a child. Seizing a moment of distraction, the boss suddenly transforms into a streak of purple light. The necromancer swiftly retreats, creating some distance between himself and the terrifying warrior. Kaiser turns his head, slightly surprised by the boss's sudden escape attempt. Surrounded by a thick shroud of dark purple mist, the boss laughs maniacally at his trick. A system notification alerts that the desperate secret dungeon boss has just activated his hidden bloodline factor. A sudden system warning shifts the tide of battle, announcing that the boss's impending evolution will trigger an immediate rank up. Kaiser quickly assesses the threat, analyzing the boss's potential transformation despite its current pathetic appearance. Realizing that a heroic plus upgrade makes the monster vastly more dangerous, Kaiser refuses to stand idly by. He firmly grips his massive greatsword, determined to end the fight before a high-level raid team becomes necessary. Flashing red eyes, Kaiser launches himself downward at blinding speed to strike first. In a split-second decision, Kaiser accesses his system menu and dumps his points into strength, breaking past his limits. He raises his massive blade high, preparing to unleash a devastating strike fueled by his newly upgraded power. The ground shatters beneath the sheer kinetic force of Kaiser's thunderous overhead slash. A notification confirms his sword mastery damage has spiked, leaving the terrified necromancer utterly powerless to defend himself. Looking down coldly, Kaiser confidently declares that raw offensive power makes all enemies equal. A brilliant crimson energy arc tears through the shadows, completely slicing the boss in half. Jihad Black screams in agony as a system prompt confirms the legendary secret dungeon boss has been slain. Bathed in dark energy, Kaiser stands victorious as system notifications log his historic dungeon clear. A radiant beam of light descends from above, delivering the legendary clear rewards directly to the victor. The system displays a rare heroic grade soul orb containing the shaman's powerful essence. A second reward reveals a dark shaman robe capable of obscuring the wearer's identity. Thrilled with the impressive haul, Kaiser holds up the dark fabric and smiles at his legendary loot. Though the equipment's stats are highly specialized, Kaiser gladly accepts the unique utility of his new gear. Suddenly, a mysterious prompt displays an unidentified item belonging to a forgotten clan. He ponders its bizarre design, remembering similar ancient artifacts he encountered during his past adventures in Demrock. Deciding to worry about it later, Kaiser prepares to leave when the dungeon begins to fade. The perspective shifts back to the quiet reality of the modern city under a warm evening sunset. With a soft mechanical hiss, the gaming capsule opens as the real-world warrior awakens from his long session. Stretching his stiff limbs by the window, he sighs upon realizing how much time has passed. Stepping out of his room, he immediately calls out to his mother to ask about dinner. Meanwhile, back in the game world, a sudden blade strike slices through unsuspecting monsters. Notifications pop up confirming the demise of local beasts as Kaiser's small summon finishes him off. Clad in his new dark robe, the miniature goblin summon mockingly laments the weakness of his fallen foes. Summon shudders in terror as Kaiser suddenly appears behind him like a menacing shadow. With a simple command, Kaiser summons the trembling goblin over to his side. Kaiser casually takes a seat on a nearby rock to observe his subordinate's progress. Little summon scampers over obediently, keeping his distance from the powerful warrior. Kaiser orders the goblin to drop all collected items and raise the defeated monsters as undead. Trembling with fear, the obedient summon drops the looted weapons onto the grass. The miniature shaman approaches the fallen beast, preparing to cast his dark magic. Chanting a dark incantation, the goblin summon channels surging purple necromantic energy. The dead monster begins to twitch as dark magic reanimates its lifeless body. Kaiser watches with mild surprise as the dark magic takes hold of the corpse. System notification confirms that Jihad Black has successfully raised his first forest goblin undead. The summon proudly presents his small squad of undead, admitting he is currently limited by his low level. Kaiser nods in approval, realizing this summon will be incredibly useful for future battles. The little shaman commands his newly raised minions with a high-pitched screech. The undead monsters immediately sprint off into the forest, leaving Kaiser utterly baffled. Confused by their sudden departure, Kaiser demands to know where the creatures are heading. The summon explains that he ordered his minions to gather up all the fallen loot. The tiny goblin wears a smug, self-satisfied grin, proud of his efficiency. Kaiser facepalms in deep exasperation, realizing his legendary summon is using dark magic to make janitors. Sighing, Kaiser asks when the goblin will level up, hoping to find an elite mob to accelerate the process. The summon looks up eagerly, revealing he knows the exact location of nearby elite monsters. Kaiser stares back in utter shock, completely blindsided by the summon's unexpected knowledge. The small summon reveals that nearby elite monsters are gathered together. A wicked grin spreads across Kaiser's face at this golden opportunity. Meanwhile, in reality, his sister lazily snacks on chips on the sofa. She lounges completely relaxed, oblivious to his grand gaming achievements. Kaiser stares in absolute annoyance at her incredibly lazy attitude. He sits beside her to ask about their mother's whereabouts. He's completely shocked to learn she plays the same game. His jaw drops when she casually reveals her high level. He tries to gauge just how much she has pled. She explains she was power leveled by a friend over months. He silently contemplates how slow the average leveling process is.
She mockingly states she doesn't waste hours playing like others.
He remains deadpan, keeping his own god-tier level a secret. A sudden breaking news broadcast on the television catches their attention. He is surprised to hear about the famous Hero Guild. She hypes up the guild's massive popularity among younger players. He dismisses them instantly since they aren't even top tier. The television screen displays the exceptionally handsome guildmaster, Verds. She explains that female players are absolutely obsessed with his looks. He feels thoroughly unimpressed by the leader's delicate appearance. She teasingly claims the handsome guildmaster is way out of his league. He silently fumes, throwing a hilariously petty insult her way. Annoyed by her constant teasing, he decides to walk away. She remarks that their good looks drive insane amounts of video views. The mention of a video platform instantly halts his footsteps. She explains that top guilds gain hundreds of millions of views. He is utterly blown away by the massive scale of viewership. He eagerly presses her about the massive profits behind those views. He instantly calculates how much fried chicken that kind of money buys. Completely possessed by greed, he zombies back toward his bedroom. He mutters about the potential fortune as he leaves his sister bewildered. He slams the door shut, fully motivated to build his empire. His sister is left behind, thoroughly creeped out by his behavior. The gaming capsule system interface confirms his immediate login sequence. Back in the game world, he starts recording a escape play. A glowing blue portal opens as his tiny goblin summon arrives. Kaiser immediately demands a much more respectful tone from his subordinate. The goblin quickly apologizes, but Kaiser casually lets it slide. He generously presents the dark shaman robe to the tiny summon. Paradoxically, handing over his unwanted gear triggers a dip in loyalty. The treacherous goblin attempts to claim his freedom, instantly provoking Kaiser's wrath. Terrified by Kaiser's murderous aura, the goblin quickly backtracks his words. Kaiser sighs in exasperation at his summon's wildly unstable loyalty. Now properly dressed, the summon asks about their next destination. With a devious grin, the warrior declares their sudden escape plan. The tiny goblin is left completely bewildered by the sudden command. Suddenly, a deafening screech echoes violently through the dark woods. A colossal, frost-covered axe swings down with world-shattering force. Kaiser's eyes ignite with a terrifying crimson battle lust. A massive blue-skin monster roars as it prepares to strike first. The devastating force of a colossal frost axe shatters the earth, signaling the start of a brutal clash. Blue-skinned elite beast roars in outrage, completely unfazed by its opponent's defensive posture. Hiding behind a tree, Kaiser's newly robed goblin summon watches in utter disbelief at the scale of the battle. Kaiser stands his ground, confidently meeting the massive monster head-on with his giant blade. The colossal beast swings its heavy weapon once more, determined to crush the annoying human intruder in a single blow. Keeping his composure, Kaiser firmly grips his massive greatsword, preparing a perfect counter-maneuver. A blinding shockwave erupts as Kaiser's massive blade collides with the giant's freezing weapon. Sparks fly in a spectacular frenzy as the two warriors exchange lightning-fast, high-stakes strikes. Watching from the shadows, the tiny summon is completely awestruck by the sheer speed of the exchange. Realizing what just happened, the robed goblin begins to recognize the incredible defensive strategy unfolding before him. With a confident smirk, Kaiser executes a flawless parry, effortlessly redirecting the beast's overwhelming kinetic force. The system window explains the high-risk, high-reward parry mechanic that requires absolute precision to master. This rare defense technique is highly revered, capable of completely neutralizing even the most devastating legendary skills. Despite its broken mechanics, almost no players have the godly reflexes required to successfully utilize it. A victorious notification confirms a successful parry, leaving Kaiser thrilled with the reward of his gamble. The colossal frost axe is deflected harmlessly away, leaving the giant monster completely wide open. The immense impact of the parry creates a brilliant burst of pure energy. Exploiting the opening, Kaiser leaps high into the air to position himself for a deadly overhead execution. The massive blue beast panics, realizing too late that its ultimate defense has been thoroughly shattered. Looking down coldly, Kaiser mocks the beast's lack of viable skills as he prepares his final strike. The helpless monster lets out a desperate final scream as the shadow of defeat closes in. Shuddering in absolute awe, the tiny summon witnesses the terrifying combat prowess of his master. Kaiser's eyes burn with greed as he greedily questions the sheer abundance of nearby targets. Deep within the dark forest, the large pack of elite red and blue goblins relaxes around their campsite campfire. Peering through the bushes, the goblin summon proudly confirms that they have successfully located the elite mob camp. Kaiser's jaw drops in utter shock as he realizes just how many elite monsters are gathered together. A sinister grin spreads across his face, realizing this is the ultimate opportunity to power level. An emergency quest notification instantly flashes, challenging Kaiser to conquer the warrior's trial. The quest details reveal a highly lucrative prize pool, promising gold, experience, and an elusive intermediate skill ticket. With his eyes ablaze with determination, Kaiser resolves to clear this high-stakes trial at any cost.
Sensing a sudden shift in the atmosphere, one of the elite goblins stops eating, scanning the dark trees. Dropping from the sky like a shooting star, Kaiser launches a high-speed surprise attack directly on the campsite. With a playful greeting, the fearless warrior announces his deadly arrival to the startled horde. One of the red-skinned elite monsters roars in fury, immediately swinging its giant sword to crush the intruder. Kaiser effortlessly glides through the air, dodging the devastating downward slash with superhuman agility. The giant goblin looks down in utter bewilderment as its heavy blade hits nothing but empty dirt. Charging his energy, Kaiser's eyes ignite with a terrifying blood-red battle lust. Delivering a brutal, high-impact strike, Kaiser smashes his fist directly into the massive monster's jaw. The devastating impact shatters the elite goblin's face, sending blood spraying into the cold air. Surrounded by the rest of the enraged mob, Kaiser prepares to face the entire elite squad alone. Channeling electrical currents, Kaiser draws a glowing blue dagger crackling with devastating lightning energy. A system prompt confirms he has activated his skill, unleashing a flurry of devastating wide-arc slashes. The critical strike inflicts a severe bleed effect, leaving the elite monsters screaming in agony as they weaken. Striking a confident pose with his dagger, Kaiser watches coldly as his foes collapse behind him one by one. Refusing to back down, another armed elite goblin charges frantically toward him, screaming a fierce battle cry. Showing off his flawless time, Kaiser parries the massive incoming sword with his tiny dagger. The charging beast groans in absolute shock as its powerful strike is effortlessly halted by a small blade. With a fluid movement, Kaiser shifts his momentum to prepare a devastating counter-assault. Kaiser launches himself upward, delivering a powerful kick directly into the stun monster's chest. The elite goblin is sent flying backward, coughing up blood as Kaiser dominates the battlefield. Gripping his heavy blade with relentless force, Kaiser prepares to unleash absolute devastation upon his foes. With his eyes glowing a menacing crimson, Kaiser leaps high into the air, ready to execute a crushing blow. The monstrous red elite roars in challenge, but Kaiser's terrifying aura signals that the real nightmare is just beginning. Drenched in the blood of his enemies, the Dark Warrior stands like a demonic force of nature. Staring down the enraged monster, Kaiser maintains a chillingly cold focus, entirely unfazed by the beast's desperate roar. With a single devastating impact, Kaiser drives his greatsword down, leaving a trail of fallen monsters in his wake. Watching from the safety of the bushes, the goblin summon is utterly paralyzed with fear by his master's terrifying display. Shaking with absolute terror, the robed summon realizes that the warrior he serves is anything but human. Suffocating crimson heat ignites around Kaiser, radiating a pure battle lust that threatens to consume the entire forest. Creeping up from behind, Kaiser flashes a wicked grin, leaving his tiny summon completely horrified by his demonic presence. He plants his giant blade firmly into the earth, ready to draw out the ultimate prize of this hunt. Standing confidently amidst the carnage, Kaiser anticipates the arrival of the camp's true leader. Suddenly, a massive blue-skinned brute crashes onto the battlefield, instantly recognized by the system as the hidden field boss, Goblin Warlord Karuk. The colossal warlord swings a massive ice-infused battle axe, roaring with a rage that shakes the very ground. A system display reveals the boss's fearsome traits, highlighting his deadly status as a berserker-class warlord. Rather than fleeing, Kaiser smirks with absolute joy, viewing the towering behemoth as nothing more than a lucky jackpot. With explosive power, the heavy blade cuts through the air, shattering the ground below. Kaiser charges headfirst into danger, his speed blurring as he closes the distance to the giant boss. Airborne and fearless, Kaiser collides directly with the warlord, initiating a high-stakes duel of brute force. Seeing his master jump straight into the path of the devastating frost axe, the summon screams out in pure panic. Showing legendary reflexes, Kaiser counters midair, bringing his massive blade down right onto the startled warlord's face. Flashing a dark, satisfied grin, Kaiser relishes the thrill of dominating a high-level boss so effortlessly. Safely hidden, the robed summon tries to comprehend the absurd level of power he is witnessing. Now wearing sleek blue and red armor, Kaiser calmly contemplates where the next major target will spawn. He gazes deeply into the web-covered trees, sensing a powerful presence lurking nearby. A sudden system alert flashes, confirming that his Slayer trait has successfully mapped out the location of the Spider Queen. Spotting a massive red outline glowing through the terrain, Kaiser's battle instincts immediately flare up. He begins to wonder if his incredibly overpowered Slayer title applies to monster classes he has never even hunted before. Realization strikes, causing the warrior's eyes to widen in complete disbelief. Stunned by the game's broken mechanics, he struggles to process the massive tactical advantage he just uncovered. He wonders if this incredible detection skill genuinely grants him vision over every single boss monster in the entire zone. Looking down at the glowing red spider shape on the ground, his mind races with the possibilities. Shaking off a shock, he decides to focus strictly on the immediate jackpot waiting right in front of him. With a deadly, sinister grin, Kaiser plans to completely monopolize the field boss by utilizing his stealth skills. Meanwhile, other players in the forest look on in confusion as a glowing teleportation circle suddenly activates nearby. Deep inside a dark cave, a colossal purple spider begins to emerge from the shadows, ready to defend its nest. A system notification officially welcomes them to the lair of the terrifying elite field boss, Spider Queen Eliza.
Successfully infiltrating the cavern, Kaiser smiles victoriously, thrilled that his reckless gamble paid off perfectly. The robed goblin summon looks up at his master, completely baffled by how they managed to bypass all security. Kaiser looks back with glowing red eyes, telling his subordinate to simply sit back and enjoy their massive stroke of luck. Towering over them, the grotesque arachnid boss bristles with rage as it prepares to crush the tiny intruders. A red system panel warns of the Spider Queen's lethal attributes, including her steel webs and deadly poison. The massive beast screeches in fury, launching a sudden high-speed assault to impale the warrior. Kaiser's expression turns deadly serious, his focus locking on to the incoming danger with absolute precision. He effortlessly leaps backward through the air, dodging a barrage of razor-sharp spider legs slamming into the cavern walls. Mid-air, a bright blue light envelops Kaiser as the system registers the activation of his backstab skill. The giant spider freezes in confusion, completely losing track of its target as Kaiser vanishes into thin air. Reappearing directly behind the blind spot of the beast, Kaiser catches the creature completely off guard. Suddenly, a magnificent golden dragon constructed of pure energy manifests around the warrior's leg. Activating his devastating rising dragon kick, Kaiser unleashes a blinding explosive strike directly into the colossal beast's face. Facing a devastating blow, the monstrous Spider Queen Eliza screeches in agony as the warrior's explosive kick connects. Kaiser's eyes ignite with a golden light as he charges his next attack. Sensing victory, a dark premonition notes his enemy is completely out of skills. With the spectacular blood-red slash, Kaiser slays the hidden field boss, Goblin Warlord Karuk. The blue system window confirms his victory, detailing a massive reward pool. He ecstatically celebrates after receiving 2 highly coveted intermediate skill tickets. He dances and jumps in pure joy inside the quiet forest. Watching from the bushes, the tiny summon is completely embarrassed by his master's goofiness. The summon notes how the terrifying battle demon instantly turns into a childish goofball. Kaiser behaves like a total child while anticipating his next skill roll. He eagerly opens his system menu to use the first intermediate skill ticket. A dazzling storm of cards reveals his new rare-grade Rising Dragon Kick skill. The system detailedly explains the physical damage and leg adaptation mechanics of the kick. He activates his second ticket, rolling the rare-grade Striking Buffer skill. He is completely stunned to have rolled a highly versatile Buffer-type skill. A visual representation shows a Holy Knight demonstrating the permanent attack-boosting duration. The system illustrates the massive scaling difference between a regular sword and a greatsword. This incredible skill effectively elevates any regular sword's DPS to greatsword level. Overjoyed with his luck, the warrior enthusiastically declares his love for the system. He laughs hysterically at how broken a self-buffing solo damage dealer class is. With red eyes shining, he celebrates his perfect setup of buffs and kicks. His attention shifts as the system lists multiple heroic and rare loot items dropped by the warlord. He is thrilled to finally discard his cursed low-level goblin gear. He taps the equip button on his blue screen to wear his new gear. Enveloped in bright light, he successfully equips the red and blue warlord set. He proudly models his new armor while his summon begrudgingly compliments him. Looking up at his master, the summon admits he is genuinely terrifying. Kaiser playfully teases his tiny summon, asking if he is really that scary. He arrogantly boasts about his plans to climb to the absolute top. The summon sighs at his master's overinflated ego as they walk together. The tiny green-eyed companion silently labels his master a complete lunatic. Sudden system alert flashes a loyalty penalty, catching Kaiser completely off guard. Kaiser immediately accuses the nervous summon of bad-mouthing him in his mind. Drawing his glowing sword menacingly, he warns the summon to watch his thoughts. The terrified goblin companion quickly begs for mercy, promising absolute obedience. Kaiser lets out a disappointed sigh and decides to drop the matter. He begins walking forward, casually telling his companion to follow him. Hurrying to keep up, the summon asks about their next destination. Kaiser casually reveals his plan to hunt down another powerful field boss. The summon complains that they literally just finished defeating a massive warlord. A sudden warning gasp escapes the summon as a new window appears. The system presents a new trial to reach level 24 and slay Eliza. Deep in the West Forest, dozens of players gather near massive spider webs. Armored warriors stand in the clearing, eagerly waiting for the boss to spawn. Another adventurer replies that the boss spawn is only 10 minutes away. A knight and a witch discuss the history of the boss's spawn patterns.
They speculate on whether she will appear in the north or west.
Kaiser and his hooded summon quietly slip into the crowd of waiting players. Kaiser asks his companion if he possesses any knowledge about the boss's location. Shrugging, the summon explains that the Spider Queen is from a younger generation. Just when victory seems guaranteed, Kaiser confronts his guide about a massive gap in their knowledge of the forest. He lands a devastating energy-charged kick straight onto the massive spider boss, initiating an intense battle. The scene shifts to a quiet, dusty wooden cabin where a tiny spider rests on a desk next to old vials and hourglasses. Time passes inside the abandoned cabin as days turn into nights, emphasizing a long and lonely wait. The cabin's worn wooden door slowly creaks open, signaling a sudden change in the quiet atmosphere. The tiny spider, Eliza, leaves her home behind to venture deep into the West Forest where her journey first began.
She travels through the dense, dark woods, constantly holding on to the precious name given to her by her master.
Back in the present, the small purple summon tearfully throws his arms around the colossal spider, crying out her name in absolute grief.
Watching this emotional reunion, a perplexed Kaiser directly accuses his companion of abandoning the giant creature. Caught completely off guard, the green-eyed summon freezes in pure shock and sweat-inducing panic.
He immediately bursts into tears again, clinging desperately to the massive beast while wailing out her name.
Unmoved by the drama, Kaiser firmly questions why his companion has been staying hidden all this time.
He points out the absurdity of hiding away for an incredible span of a century and a half.
Looking down in shame, the summon explains that he is forbidden from revealing his secrets right now. Kaiser stands with his hands on his hips, completely baffled and demanding a clearer explanation.
The little summon bows his head and offers a quiet apology to his demanding master.
Kaiser pauses to contemplate the situation, trying to make sense of his companion's mysterious background.
He reminds his guide that since this is a crucial quest, they still have no choice but to slay the spider. The summon reluctantly agrees, looking up at the towering boss with a heavy heart. Suddenly, the summon notices a strange reaction from one of the massive creature's legs. The giant spider screeches in anger and confusion, demanding to know what the small companion just said. The summon recoils in utter horror and disbelief at the monster's shocking response.
Sensing the sudden shift in tension, Kaiser asks his companion what is happening.
The green-eyed guide looks up with a dark aura, preparing to deliver a chilling revelation. A mysterious purple system bubble reveals the boss's shocking request to be put down by her old ally. The giant beast stares down with glowing orange eyes, weakly calling out for her long-lost master. Showing absolute coldness, Kaiser firmly plants his foot, preparing to strike without a single shred of mercy.
He leaps forward with blinding speed, drawing his sharp blade to finish off the weakened boss. The giant spider reacts in sudden shock as the warrior breaches her defenses in an instant.
Kaiser unleashes a barrage of rapid, glowing energy slashes, completely overwhelming the colossal beast.
Landing gracefully on his feet, the agile warrior prepares to launch his next devastating sequence.
With explosive momentum, he dashes forward again to maintain his relentless offensive. Activating his freshly unlocked buffer skill, a burning orange aura erupts around Kaiser, dramatically boosting his offensive capabilities. The empowered warrior vaults high into the air, closing the distance to his target with terrifying power.
The colossal spider cries out in sheer panic as she looks up at her incoming doom.
A bright blue system notification registers the deadly activation of his ultimate aerial kick skill.
A massive golden dragon of pure energy manifests behind the soaring warrior, illuminating the entire cavern.
Delivering his signature strike, Kaiser unleashes an explosive kick directly into the monster's face. The monstrous spider queen screeches in agony as the devastating golden impact rattles her massive body. Descending onto her head, Kaiser prepares to deliver the final, crushing blow. Hiding safely behind a nearby boulder, the small summon watches in awe and terror of his master's overwhelming power.
Kaiser stands triumphantly before the collapsing boss, his posture radiating unmatched confidence.
A dark, suffocating red heat ignites around the warrior as he dismisses the monster's tragic identity. Flashing a sinister, battle-hungry grin, he prepares to mercilessly harvest his prize.
A blood-red window echoes his ruthless determination to slay his target regardless of her tragic past.
Terrified boss screeches in desperation, weeping and begging for her life in her final moments. From his hiding spot, the hooded companion covers his face as Kaiser's relentless strikes rain down. Terrified by the sheer brutality, the summon silently laments his master's cold-blooded and merciless nature. Kaiser continues his relentless high-speed assault, showering the giant arachnid in a flurry of explosive impacts. Suddenly, the summon's eyes widen in realization as he struggles to recall where he previously heard that tragic name. The purple summon screams in sudden terror as Kaiser prepares to strike. Desperately trying to prevent a tragedy, the purple companion begs his master to halt his attack. Kaiser pauses in confusion as his terrified companion rushes forward, repeatedly pleading for him to stop. Spinning around, the warrior demands to know the reason behind this sudden interruption. The small companion desperately calls out to the giant spider, pleading for her to open her eyes and recognize him. The massive arachnid slowly opens its glowing red eyes, weakly calling out her own name in response. Tears streaming down his face, the companion begs her to recognize him after all this time. Hearing his voice, the giant creature begins to weep as she recognizes her old friend.
A sudden flash of blinding light pulls them into a deep memory of the past.
Many years ago, a young hooded goblin quietly traveled through the dense sun-dappled forest.
He suddenly stopped in his tracks upon hearing a tiny voice calling out a familiar name.
Looking down at a nearby leaf, the traveler spotted a unique, tiny red spider resting there. He gently scooped up the rare creature, marveling at its unusual and mysterious species. With a gentle smile, he offered to take the tiny squeaking spider along on his journey.
Enthusiastic little spider repeatedly squeaked her simple name in pure joy.
Back in his wooden cabin, the traveler contemplated the simple name the creature kept repeating. He warmly suggested renaming her Eliza to sound a bit more elegant and unique.
However, the stubborn little creature kept bouncing on the desk, insisting on her original name.
Chuckling warmly, the traveler relented and happily agreed to let her keep her preferred name. One morning, the goblin prepared to depart, gently telling her that he had to travel alone. The tiny spider tilted her head in confusion, sadly calling out her name.
He firmly explained that the outside world was far too dangerous for her to accompany him. Dejected, the tiny creature looked down, whispering her name as she stayed behind. Standing in the doorway, the goblin offered a parting smile and promised he would return soon. The heavy wooden door clicked shut, leaving the small creature completely by herself. She waited patiently on the empty desk, starting a lonely vigil that would last for centuries. Shifting back to the present, the emotional companion reveals the tragic truth of Eliza's words to Kaiser. Kaiser ignores the tragedy, raising his glowing blade as a horde of minor spiders surrounds him.
With a swift, powerful strike, a devastating explosion of red energy consumes the encroaching monsters.
Kaiser relentlessly carves through the spider horde, showering the cave in green blood. He unleashes a flurry of rapid, sweeping slashes, leaving a trail of destructive crimson energy. Watching from a distance, the companion sadly reflects on how incredibly strong Eliza has truly become. Kaiser effortlessly slays the remaining beasts, determined to clear the entire cavern. Green blood rains down around the silent companion as the brutal onslaught finally comes to an end. Kaiser kneels amidst the carnage as the system notification confirms his successful completion of the first trial. The system verifies his impressive kill count, officially declaring that he has passed the trial. A glowing blue window reveals that Kaiser has achieved the coveted first-place rank in the trial. Additional system alerts announce the activation of a special stat boost, raising all his attributes. Basked in an intense crimson aura, Kaiser runs a hand through his hair, ecstatic with his massive rewards. His celebration is interrupted as the tiny spider suddenly lands on his shoulder guard, squeaking happily. Amused, Kaiser thanks the small creature, noting that the trial's rewards exceeded his wildest expectations. The companion interrupts, reminding Kaiser that the giant boss has not yet bestowed her true reward. Kaiser looks puzzled while the tiny spider on his shoulder continues to squeak in excitement. Pointing toward the dark cavern wall, the companion directs Kaiser's attention to a hidden secret. Kaiser turns to see a mysterious glowing red node, which the system identifies as a fragment of fate. The warrior's eyes glow with intense surprise upon realizing what incredible treasure lies before him. He gasps in disbelief, completely stunned by this unexpected and legendary discovery. Nearby, the grieving companion desperately clings to the massive weeping spider as her life force fades. With a final sorrowful call, the giant boss's body begins to dissolve into shimmering green light. Heartbroken goblin screams her name in absolute agony, mourning the tragic end of his oldest friend. The battle takes a shocking turn as a system notification reveals the boss's health has plummeted below 10%, leaving Kaiser utterly bewildered. Panicking, the purple-skinned goblin summoned Jihad clings desperately to the massive beast, frantically begging her to stop her self-destructive actions. Stunned by the tragic circumstances, the green-eyed helper hesitates, completely overwhelmed by emotion. In her final agonizing moments, the massive spider weakly whimpers her own name. Desperate to end her suffering, Jihad screams for his master to deliver the final strike, deeply startling the warrior. The companion insists that there is no time left and demands an immediate execution to grant her peace. Uncharacteristically hesitant, the battle-hardened swordsman questions if he should really proceed with the strike. As the giant beast calls out one last time, Jihad fiercely commands his master to put her out of her misery. Relenting to his allies' desperate pleas, Kaiser draws his sharp golden sword to deliver the merciful blow. With his sword raised high, the warrior warns the weeping beast of his impending strike as she calls out her name. With a decisive clean slash, Kaiser slays the giant spider, prompting a system notification confirming her demise. A heavy, agonizing silence falls over the cavern as the massive beast's body collapses. Filled with sudden remorse, the warrior questions his actions while his solemn guide quietly reassures him. Suddenly, a tiny, high-pitched whimper breaks the silence and echoes from the shadows of the fallen boss. A cute, tiny purple spider climbs out of the carcass, triggering a system alert about a hidden parasite boss named Eliza.
Kaiser is absolutely stunned to realize that the true boss was actually a parasitic creature.
The warrior recalls his past experiences with devious parasitic monsters that control other beasts from within. He remembers how these frustrating bosses would constantly hop from host to host, making them a nightmare for players. To his absolute disbelief, one of these legendary parasitic entities is now right in front of him. A new system window appears, officially registering the tiny spider as Jihad's newest subordinate guardian. Satisfied with this incredibly lucky outcome, the warrior contemplates his growing power with a smirk. Staring at his companion, Kaiser realizes that Jihad has proven to be an incredibly valuable asset. Kaiser notes Jihad's excellent qualities, from obediently gathering rare loot to uncovering hidden fields. Flashing a hilariously greedy grin, the warrior happily declares his purple companion to be his ultimate lucky charm. Sensing a predatory gaze behind him, Jihad shivers as an ominous aura erupts from his greedy master. Before Jihad can react, the tiny purple spider suddenly leaps from his hands into the air. The small arachnid gracefully lands on the warrior's shoulder plate, leaving both of them completely frozen in surprise. The tiny creature trips happily on his armor, causing the confused warrior to tilt his head. Jihad happily translates that the little creature is offering her deepest gratitude to her new master. Overjoyed, the tiny spider bounces with pure excitement as she tries to communicate. Jihad explains that the creature wants to repay her savior and urges them to follow her lead. The enthusiastic little spider waves her legs, eager to lead the way to her secret treasure. The group begins their journey deeper into the dark, winding corridors of the cavern.
Resting comfortably on his shoulder, the small guide keeps chirping to keep their spirits high. Jihad translates one final message, warning his master that they are finally approaching their mysterious destination.
Taking a firm step forward, the warrior prepares himself for whatever lies ahead. Stepping into a massive web-covered chamber, a system notification alerts them that they have discovered a hidden location. Looking up in absolute awe, Kaiser realizes they have stumbled directly into the Spider Queen's massive hatchery. Scores of screeching, glowing-eyed giant spiders emerge, each registered by the system as an official field boss. The warrior suddenly remembers his graduation quest objective, realizing he has just hit the absolute jackpot of field bosses. The official trial system screen confirms that his final reward grade will skyrocket with every field boss he manages to slay. A dark, ambitious idea sparks in Kaiser's mind as he contemplates the massive rewards of wiping out the entire nest. Unloading an oppressive red aura, the battle-hungry warrior unsheathes his golden blade with a sinister, greed-filled grin. With terrifying momentum, he unleashes a devastating beam of crimson energy that completely illuminates the dark cavern. Dashing straight into the heart of the swarming spider horde, Kaiser begins a relentless high-speed slaughter. Meanwhile, outside the cave, a massive guild of rival players arrives at the entrance, confident they're the first to find the boss. Confident guild leader rallies his troops, demanding they execute their strategy flawlessly to slay the legendary boss. Before they can even take a step, a world announcement alerts everyone that the boss has already been slain, shattering their hopes. Utter chaos erupts among the crowd as they wildly speculate which elite player could have conquered the trial ahead of them. From the shadows, a mysterious red-eyed warrior narrows his gaze, setting the stage for a deadly new confrontation. An overwhelming, suffocating pressure suddenly freezes the warrior in his tracks. Kaiser struggles as binding chains restrict his movement. Heavy rhythmic footsteps echo through the dark cavern, drawing closer.
Jihad frantically warns his master to brace for immediate combat. The panicked goblin demands to know why his master remains silent. Kaiser desperately questions why he is unable to react. He wonders why his legendary hero traits fail to activate now. A system alert delivers the grim news that his traits are disabled. Kaiser trembles as Cassiar unleashes a monstrous pressure without any debuffs. Jihad panics, screaming that his master is completely overwhelmed by fear. Kaiser rejects the idea of being terrified by simple Gambia. The warrior unleashes a ferocious roar to break his mental shackles. Cassiar suddenly pauses, turning his gaze toward the shouting warrior. Kaiser swings his massive blade to regain his combat stance.
Kaiser arrogantly boasts that he is not afraid of the boss.
Jihad bluntly points out that his master's legs are shaking uncontrollably. Kaiser commands him to shut up while Jihad quickly offers support. Kaiser addresses battle god Cassiar, praising how useful his skills were. Kaiser criticizes the ridiculous failure penalty of the Inheritance of Fate quest. Rants about losing all his progress over a single failure. Kaiser admits complaining is useless, but remains absolutely furious. The warrior tearfully laments the extreme effort required to get his gear. Jihad whispers that their master has finally lost his mind completely. Kaiser cries over losing his chance to turn his gaming life around. Jihad angrily demands his master stop complaining and start fighting in Fet. Kaiser smugly tells his companion that only 1 minute remains. Jihad realizes his master is deviously stalling for precious time. The goblin enthusiastically encourages him to keep stalling to survive. Jihad screams in shock as his master abruptly changes tactics. Kaiser charges forward with high speed, ready to strike. Kaiser plans to exploit Cassiar's distraction with the sneak attack. The warrior aims to defeat Cassiar to claim a hidden reward. Kaiser leaps high, unleashing his lethal backstab skill on his foe. Cassiar effortlessly catches Kaiser by the throat, blocking the attack. Cassiar brutally slams Kaiser into the stone floor with explosive force. Jihad shrieks in horror as his master is crushed. Cassiar steps heavily onto the defeated warrior, pinning him down. Kaiser lies bleeding and unconscious after the devastating impact. A rival player warns his group that the rankings just updated. He reveals the top ranker has officially slain the Spider Queen. The stunned crowd immediately accuses the mysterious top ranker of hacking. Kaiser evaluates the fragment to trigger the Inheritance of Fate quest. Kaiser examines the glowing red shard, considering the heavy class quest. Jihad congratulates his master on finally securing a class quest. The warrior sits silently on the cold stone, deep in thought. Jihad asks his master why his expression looks so dark. Kaiser admits he has a terrible feeling about this upcoming quest. Jihad celebrates the legendary relic reward promised for completing the quest. The eager companion encourages him to seize the ultimate ranker power. Kaiser angrily highlights the devastating risk of losing his class forever. Distraught by the devastating penalties of failure, Kaiser clutches his head in absolute dread before a sudden realization hits him. The devious warrior turns to his loyal goblin companion, questioning what will become of him if his master loses his class.
Outraged by the accusation of disloyalty, the furious goblin vehemently denies any intention of abandoning his master, though his loyalty stat remains pitifully low.
As Jihad continues his passionate rant, Kaiser's attention shifts to the tiny purple spider squeaking on the goblin's head. A sudden violent tremor interrupts the heated argument, shaking the entire cavern. Annoyed by his companion's inadvertent honesty, Kaiser steps over the face-planted goblin and resolves to accept the high-stakes quest out of sheer spite. Gazing at the blue system notification, the warrior prepares himself for the imminent trial to prove his worthiness. Drawing confidence from his legendary past victory over a colossal iron-blooded dragon, Kaiser smirks at the upcoming challenge. Brimming with arrogance, he declares his absolute confidence to crush any beast that stands in his way. With a cocky smile, the black-haired warrior reaches out to activate the glowing blue portal of the trial. Flashback to a grand sunlit cathedral where Kaiser first initiated this epic path by obtaining a legendary card. Inside the holy temple, a panicked priest gasps in absolute horror upon learning of Kaiser's connection to Cassiar. Confident as always, the black-haired adventurer proudly confirms his shocking identity. He requests a simple blessing to defend the local village, only to be met with a sudden splash of water. The outraged priest douses him with holy water to cleanse his presence. The furious priest screams for the wretched apostle to leave, immediately canceling his quest. Drenched and empty-handed, Kaiser rages outside the slammed doors, demanding the reward he was denied. Taking away in disgust, the warrior notes the bizarre, intense hatred that holy priests harbor for Cassiar's very name. Shifting his focus, he takes a massive, satisfying bite out of a hearty sandwich to clear his mind. Chewing quietly on a wooden bench, he ponders the mystery behind his inherited class. Pulling up his blue status window, Kaiser decides to thoroughly review the lore of his legendary class. The interface reveals battle god Cassiar, a peerless warrior whose monstrous power once struck terror into the hearts of the gods themselves. Amused by the grand lore, Kaiser chuckles, realizing why the temple priest treated him like an absolute demon. Suddenly, the flashback ends as a giant spiked iron ball crashes violently into the cavern floor, narrowly missing him. The sudden near miss startles the black-haired warrior, catching him completely off guard. Chaos erupts as a deadly rain of ancient swords and spears begins plummeting from the shadows above. The terrified goblin points toward the center of the chamber, warning his master of an impending threat. A massive, intricate magic circle blazes to life overhead, initiating a terrifying 5-minute survival trial. From the glowing blue portal, the bound form of battle god Cassiar slowly descends into the arena. Draped in heavy binding chains, the legendary entity firmly lands on the stone floor as his class quest officially begins. Kaiser stares in disbelief, realizing his opponent is not a standard monster but the terrifying battle god himself. Casting aside his doubts, the warrior prepares to summon his power for the ultimate duel. Drawing his glowing golden blade, he reassures himself that he only needs to survive for 5 short minutes. With a maniacal grin, the battle-hungry swordsman welcomes the challenge of survival. But his confidence is instantly shattered as Cassiar brutally chokes him out, leaving him battered and bloody on the floor. Following the brutal confrontation, Kaiser converses with a mysterious gray-haired elder while Jihad boasts about his own instincts. The mention of a legendary main quest catches Kaiser completely by surprise, shifting his focus. In a world played by over 1 billion users, even the legendary quest king himself declared that a main quest simply did not exist. The elder explains that since Kaiser has met Cassiar, there is a crucial truth he must finally hear. Intrigued by the revelation, the warrior agrees to listen closely to the old man's story. The elder begins a tale of ancient history, revealing how different humanity was nearly 15 centuries ago. Blessed with peerless potential, humanity once held a throne of supreme power until a sudden, catastrophic invasion shattered their peace. The elder reveals that the true invaders were the very entities humans worship as gods today. Jihad shrieks in absolute shock, unable to believe that the gods are the true orchestrators of their suffering. Kaiser commands his loud companion to stay quiet so he can fully absorb the legendary lore. Driven from their own destroyed realms after Ragnarok, the invading gods initiated a brutal war to claim humanity's home. The apocalyptic war raged relentlessly, wiping out a massive portion of the world in the process. Colossal structures crumbled to dust as fire and ash consumed the lands. Just when all hope seemed lost, the tide of the entire war was single-handedly overturned by a lone human warrior. This savior was none other than the legendary battle god Cassiar, whose battle-worn form radiates an aura of pure, unyielding dominance. The elder continues his grim historical tale, explaining how humanity's hopeful victory was completely shattered when a terrifying force emerged from the depths. He details the horrifying manifestation known as the Abyss, a vile darkness born from the collective hatred of fallen gods and mortals. This corruption spread like wildfire, twisting both gods and humans alike into glowing-eyed monsters and a literal vision of hell. Faced with absolute extinction, the warring factions were forced into a desperate, bitter pact of survival to prevent total annihilation. But the gods betrayed their allies, sacrificing human lives to secure their own power, which stems directly from faith. Left with no choice, the surviving humans were reduced to helpless slaves, forced to worship their divine betrayers. The elder laments that humanity's immense potential was stripped away while their champion Cassiar was sealed away. He drops a massive bombshell, revealing that the gods even manipulated off-world adventurers to execute their selfish plans. Upon entering this world, unsuspecting players are stripped of their true selves and forced into the slave class of an apostle. Kaiser processes this mind-blowing revelation, quickly realizing the dark truth behind the class he originally pursued. Jihad aggressively tells his master to shut up so they can listen to the rest of the elder's crucial story.
Kaiser completely ignores his crying companion, letting a devious smile slip as a brilliant plan begins to form in his mind. Furious Goblin snaps at his master, completely fed up with Kaiser's annoying and reckless antics. Before their argument can escalate, a sudden violent tremor rumbles through the cavern, signaling that their time is up. The narrative violently shifts back to the present duel, where Cassiar heavily pins Kaiser to the stone floor. Clawing desperately at the massive hand choking him, Kaiser faces the terrifying reality of losing all his hard-earned progress. Cassiar peers down at the struggling warrior, his red eyes gleaming with a terrifyingly sadistic grin. The legendary battle god raises his fist high, preparing to deliver a final crushing blow to end the trial once and for all. Kaiser braces himself in absolute agony, expecting his journey to end in a brutal defeat. But instead of a fatal strike, Kaiser is left completely bewildered as the legendary boss starts playfully squeezing his face. The fierce warrior screams in confusion as Cassiar continues to stretch his cheeks like a harmless toy. The epic high-stakes battle completely breaks down into absolute absurdity as Cassiar aggressively tickles his opponent on the floor. The battle god pauses, licking his lips with a bizarre and highly unsettling expression. Kaiser panics, screaming in absolute horror at whatever twisted intentions the boss might have next. Jihad cuts through the confusion with an ecstatic shout, revealing that this bizarre behavior is actually a massive victory. Kaiser is left utterly speechless as his companion explains that sticking his tongue out is Cassiar's ultimate sign of respect. The warrior stares in disbelief at the once terrifying god, who now looks down at him with an incredibly proud grin. Cassiar nods in agreement, officially recognizing the sheer bravery of the only human to ever charge him head-on. Jihad translates the god's intentions, asking his master if he is truly ready to inherit his legendary legacy. Kaiser scrambles to his feet, eagerly confirming his resolve to accept the heavy burden of the battle god's will. Cassiar strikes a fabulous, sparkling pose as the goblin explains how Kaiser's fearless charge proved his worthiness. A deadpan Kaiser questions why the god couldn't just use words, wondering how his goblin companion can even translate this ridiculous sign language. A blue system alert announces the completion of the 5-minute survival trial, securing Kaiser's first fragment of fate. The interface confirms his monumental shift, officially abandoning the Puppet Apostle class to initiate the legendary path of the successor. Kaiser is surprised by the sudden transition as Cassiar proudly gives him a friendly thumbs up of approval. Jihad reveals that the legendary boss is preparing to bestow a highly coveted divine relic upon his new successor. Cassiar slowly reaches down into his waistband, preparing to retrieve the mysterious treasure from an incredibly awkward spot. Kaiser's jaw drops in absolute horror as he realizes exactly where the boss is reaching to grab the item. The warrior falls backward in a panic, screaming at the god to stop rummaging through his trousers. A brilliant, glowing white cylinder begins to emerge from the god's belt, radiating intense divine power. Kaiser frantically waves his hands in a desperate panic, shouting that this is not that kind of mature game. Cassiar pulls the blinding divine rod out completely, remaining completely oblivious to his successor's extreme mental distress. Completely losing his mind, Kaiser screams at the legendary warrior in pure, unadulterated fury. Cassiar stands in silent, blank-faced confusion, holding out a harmless black staff with red-capped ends. While Jihad sighs at his master's dirty mind, Kaiser furiously demands to know why a divine weapon had to be stored there. Kaiser reluctantly accepts the powerful relic, though the questionable memory of its storage leaves him feeling deeply traumatized. The legendary battle god flashes one last warm smile, gently waving goodbye to his newly appointed successor. Jihad bluntly translates the final message, telling his master that their time in this ancient arena is officially up. A glowing purple magic circle erupts beneath their feet, preparing to teleport them away from the trial. Kaiser screams in shock as they are violently sucked into the teleportation vortex, leaving the legendary battle god behind. Plunging headfirst into a mysterious portal, Kaiser is violently dragged through a dimensional rift while his terrified goblin companion screams for survival. The portal deposits them in a breathtaking valley under an ancient temple's grand pillars. With a loud crash, the pair falls roughly onto the stone plaza of the ancient ruins. Splat on the ground, the nauseous goblin groans in agony while a tiny spider watches. Sitting up, Kaiser realizes they have arrived in Brian, relieved to avoid any hazardous territory. Suddenly, Kaiser senses an unexpected presence and turns his head with alert curiosity. An ancient white-haired elder approaches, declaring that Kaiser's early arrival is a twist of fate. The goblin companion quickly warns his master to be careful of the elder's immense power. Unfazed, Kaiser draws his glowing golden blade to prepare for a potential fight. In a shocking twist, the white-haired elder drops flat on the floor in a deep bow. Bowing deeply, the elder reveals he has waited 18 months for the prophesied successor's arrival. The elder introduces himself as Gamilian Adron, a royal line servant awaiting this exact moment. Kaiser recalls his past, remembering how he refused to become a god-submissive apostle. His past victories over demon lords granted him the Eye of Truth, guiding him to Cassia. With a smug grin, Kaiser boasts that his independent path was always superior to ordinary players. Gamilian explains that his people have endured a grueling 1,000-year wait for the successor.
The elder recounts how the legendary battle god Cassiar was instantly sealed away in chains. Before his sealing, Cassiar shattered his own fate into fragments, scattering them across the world. Only a fully gathered fate can break Cassiar's seal, returning his power back to him. Gamillion raises his hands, declaring that Kaiser must now embark on collecting these scattered fragments. A glowing red crystal manifests before Kaiser, who recognizes it as a fragment of fate.
A blue system window confirms his first obtained fragment of fate, unlocking the main stream.
Unlocking the main stream, Kaiser confidently commands the elusive main quest tab to open. Kaiser hilariously fantasizes about walking a red carpet in a tuxedo as the ultimate protagonist. Laughing maniacally at his self-proclaimed greatness, Kaiser deeply disturbs his sweating goblin companion. The battle-hungry warrior smirks, deeply enjoying the absolute high of his legendary quest. The scene shifts to a fierce battle as a human warrior violently slashes a green orc. The massive green orc collapses to the ground, spitting a fountain of dark blood. A victorious, spiky-haired party leader boasts about surviving their grueling encounter with the orcs. A pink-haired warrior with pigtails brags that only their squad could have successfully reached Brion. Another party member proudly claims that no other party in this backwater town matches their stats. The arrogant group bursts into loud laughter, fully convinced of their absolute superiority. A pair of sturdy blue boots walks calmly across the damp forest path. The party mocks Kaiser as he passes by solo, calling him deadweight with mediocre gear. A spiky-haired party leader calls out to Kaiser, demanding he stop and turn around. With a smug, arrogant expression, the party leader asks Kaiser if he is traveling solo. Kaiser stares back silently with an unbothered, blank expression on his face. Kaiser happily misinterprets the question, smilingly replying that he is indeed still single. The arrogant party bursts into loud, mocking laughter at Kaiser's dense response. They whisper about his apparent weakness, while Kaiser casually notes that he can hear them clearly. A massive green orc suddenly notices Kaiser from behind, grunting in surprise. Two colossal muscular green orcs emerge from the shadows, stepping directly toward the lone warrior. Smirking, Kaiser brandishes his weapon, eager to crack some skulls since they decided to interrupt. An orc roars, furiously charging forward with its massive fangs bared. Kaiser firmly grips his golden weapon hilt as sparks begin to crackle. A blinding explosive surge of bright yellow energy erupts from Kaiser's weapon. With blinding speed, Kaiser unleashes a devastating slash, cutting down the orc in a bloody arc. The arrogant party stares in absolute wide-eyed shock at Kaiser's unbelievable display of power.
The spiky-haired leader stammers in disbelief, completely shattered by the solo warrior's overwhelming strike.
Standing amidst the dust, a smiling Kaiser leaves his onlookers sweating and wondering who he truly is. Gamillion warns Kaiser that humanity faces a terrifying threat unless all fragments are united. Gamillion refuses to reveal the secrets of the promised day to Kaiser. Gamillion explains that a special task from Cassiar awaits the successor. Kaiser eagerly requests the short version of this legendary test. Gamillion delivers a shockingly simple command to hunt down monsters. Kaiser stands completely dumbfounded by the anticlimactic request. A grueling class quest demands Kaiser slay 1,000 monsters in 60 hours. A system alert forces Kaiser to accept the impossible trial. Kaiser furiously rages at the system for its punishing failure penalties. Gamillion tries to pacify his sobbing successor with empty words of encouragement. Kaiser laments Cassiar's bizarre nature while remembering his sparkling poses. Kaiser frantically calculates the insane speed required to complete the trial. Kaiser finally agrees to the hunt, but Gamillion instantly runs away. Kaiser panics over the high difficulty of the monster's embryo. Jihad asks Kaiser if he will utilize his newly acquired weapon. Jihad uses highly suggestive terms to describe the legendary Black Staff. Kaiser furiously demands the goblins stop describing the weapon so weirdly. Kaiser reluctantly prepares to test the power of his mysterious rod. A glowing blue window reveals the weapon's mythical tier status. Kaiser stares in absolute disbelief at the mythical grade item. Kaiser marvels at obtaining a weapon surpassing any legendary tier. Kaiser attempts to calm his excitement and inspects the details. Kaiser swipes through the virtual screen to examine the staff's functions. A notification details the weapon's unique ability to devour other armaments. Kaiser notices the staff's performance has been scaled to his level. Kaiser realizes the staff is a growth-type item with hidden secrets. Kaiser focuses on the powerful weapon-devouring mechanic. The scene shifts to the dark paths of Bloody Rock Forest. A skilled archer draws back a glowing arrow to strike. The archer fires a brilliant energy projectile at a green orc. The colossal green orc turns around in sudden shock. The archer panics as the massive beast detects their presence. The enraged green orc roars and charges forward furiously. A powerful explosion erupts directly in the monster's case. The smoking green beast reels backward from the heavy damage. A purple-haired warrior demands the monster stay down permanently. A spiky-haired swordsman leaps forward to deliver a finishing blow. The warrior violently slashes the green orc in a bloody arc. The beast retaliates, slamming the swordsman hard into the dirt. The battered leader desperately calls for a coordinated team attack. The party watches in stunned silence as Kaiser stands over a headless orc. The adventurers stare in absolute shock at Kaiser's terrifying power. The party notes in disbelief that Kaiser's club transformed into a sword. Another massive green orc charges Kaiser from behind.
Kaiser calmly glances back at his incoming opponent. Kaiser firmly grips his brilliant, glowing golden sword hilt. Kaiser jokingly compares the monster's ominous energy crystal to jihad. A notification reveals the dark crystal is a rare quest item. Kaiser happily inspects the valuable loot despite its ominous nature. Kaiser abruptly logs out of the game, leaving his goblin companion panicked. Stranded in a strange realm, Kaiser's loyal goblin companion faces his deepest fear as he realizes his master is about to leave him behind.
Overwhelmed with anxiety, the small companion struggles to speak his mind as he contemplates their sudden separation.
Suddenly, the goblin finds himself completely alone in a silent, dense forest, left to contemplate his isolation. System message reveals he has been placed in the Guardian Room, a designated safe haven where familiars safely await their master's return. Navigating this foreign waiting zone, the anxious goblin struggles to adapt to the sudden change of scenery. The absolute tranquility of the zone contrasts status quo battles raging in the world outside. Walking along, the goblin worries deeply about Eliza, a spider companion he recently reunited with after a century and a half. He sheds comical tears, wishing he could just relax and cuddle with his fluffy friend instead of cleaning up Kaiser's endless messes. His sorrow is instantly cut short when he spots a mysterious wooden cabin nestled deep in the forest. The goblin stands in disbelief, realizing the building is an exact replica of his former home. Flooded with powerful memories, he reaches out to open the door, hoping to find answers. He slowly peeks through the narrow opening, his glowing eyes searching the dim interior for any signs of life. On a dusty wooden table inside, a familiar tiny spider sits waiting under the soft glow of candlelight. The two long-lost companions cheerfully call out to each other in a heartwarming, joyful reunion. Meanwhile, back on the active battlefield, Kaiser unleashes a brilliant, glowing golden sword from his arsenal. The pink-haired warrior screams in absolute horror as she witnesses his weapon fluidly morph into an entirely new form. With unmatched agility, Kaiser dives from above and drives the glowing blade deep into a massive green orc, securing an instant kill. The shocked onlookers sweat in fear, completely unnerved by a weapon that can seamlessly alter its lethal shape. The colossal beast collapses lifelessly to the ground with the glowing golden blade still embedded in its chest. Kaiser casually raises a glowing hand, surprised himself by his sheer, one-shot offensive power. With a violent splash of blood, the golden dagger pulls itself out of the monster and flies back toward its master. Kaiser effortlessly catches his returning armament, striking a confident stance as the dust begins to settle. The arrogant adventurers desperately try to make sense of his impossible feats, murmuring about weapon fusions and unique traits. Kaiser glances back with a calm, unbothered expression, easily hearing their frantic whispering. Smiling cheekily, Kaiser apologizes for getting carried away and stealing their targets. The flustered group leader forces a weak, awkward laugh, desperately trying to save face after being completely outclassed. Unimpressed by their pathetic attempts to boast, Kaiser responds with a simple, deadpan acknowledgement. As the pair moves on, the ominous gurgling of more nearby monsters echoes through the dark forest paths. Keeping his momentum going, Kaiser spins his dark staff in his palm to prepare for the next wave of targets. He confidently declares his plan to casually slaughter another 100 monsters to speed up his trial progress. In a matter of moments, a trail of defeated green beasts litters the forest floor in his wake. The absolute devastation of his onslaught leaves the surrounding monsters completely shattered. Despite his rapid kills, Kaiser mutters in disappointment about the slow spawn rate of his targets. Seeing the barren forest, his goblin companion notes that his brutal efficiency has likely scared the remaining monsters away. Kaiser sarcastically mocks the passing adventurers, leaving them to walk away in utter humiliation as his legendary hunt continues. Suddenly, Kaiser spots a pair of massive green orcs desperately fleeing into the shadows to escape him. He grins with sadistic amusement upon realizing the local beasts now recognize him as an apex predator. Kaiser reflects on the massive boost to his overall combat statistics following his grueling training trial. A flashing blue system window displays his legendary new titles, cementing his status as the heir to Cassiar's will. On top of his incredible stat growth, his quest reward equipment is far superior to anything he anticipated. The system reveals the mythical properties of his newly acquired Black Raven spear and matching enchanted earrings. Feeling satisfied, Kaiser stretches and considers taking a break to let other struggling players have some targets. His brief moment of mercy vanishes instantly as an incredibly sinister, greedy smile spreads across his face. With a sudden burst of energy, Kaiser activates his weapon, morphing it directly into the lethal Black Raven spear. He boldly shouts that if other players want a chance, they should just survive an S-rank trial like he did. He dashes forward with blinding speed, leaving a bright trail of pure destructive power behind him. Laughing maniacally, Kaiser unleashes a devastating sweep, cleaving through another massive green orc with absolute ease. He orchestrates a relentless bloodbath, effortlessly slicing down entire waves of terrified monsters in seconds. Completely lost in the thrill of the hunt, Kaiser's eyes glow a maniacal crimson as his kill counter surges to 127. The bloodlust continues to rise as his total kill count rapidly climbs to an astonishing 162 monsters. A chaotic battle cry echoes through the forest as Kaiser's relentless hunt intensifies. Chasing down a terrified green orc, the dark teal-haired warrior mockingly demands to know where it is running. The cornered green beast groans in utter panic as its hunter closes in. Kaiser abruptly halts his pursuit, leaving his Green Goblin companion to stumble forward in sheer confusion. Glancing at his 3-minute play limit warning, Kaiser wonders if he should end his session now. While Kaiser silently deliberates his next move, the sweating green beast tries to quietly sneak away. Refusing to quit early, Kaiser charges forward to claim his final target for a milestone of 250 kills. Distracted from his chase, Kaiser looks back to find his Green Goblin companion collapsed face first. The annoyed Green Goblin demands his master focus on one task, but Kaiser tells him to wait. Kaiser points toward a distant rocky peak, asking if his companion notices the strange red glow. A bright, ominous beam of crimson light pierces the dark sky from a blood-streaked snowy peak. Staring in the direction of the mountain, the Green Goblin admits he sees absolutely nothing unusual. Kaiser ascends the rocky terrain, convinced that the glowing light hides a secret of immense value. Reaching the summit, Kaiser gasps in disbelief as he stares down at a bizarre, glowing crimson source. Activating his analytical eye ability, Kaiser reaches into the light to inspect the mysterious glowing anomaly. Dipping his hand into the thick crimson pool, Kaiser wonders if he has found a rare legendary artifact. He quickly pulls his hand back in disgust, coated in a sticky, stringy red substance. Scene shifts to the peaceful real world as a warm sunset bathes the city skyline. Back in his room, Kaiser stretches and regrets not killing a few more monsters before logging out. His disappointment quickly fades as a delicious aroma wafts into his room from the kitchen. In the kitchen, his sister quietly enjoys a steaming bowl of freshly prepared ramen. Kaiser tries to sweet-talk his sister for a bite, but she flatly tells him to beat it. Back in the game, Jihad explains that Eliza's body began to glow and transform while in safekeeping. Confused by the explanation, Kaiser questions how the two familiars managed to share a single room. The smug goblin dismisses his questions, claiming the system rewarded him for being exceptionally well-behaved. Kaiser wonders how a cute creature could be influenced by a pathetic goblin, offending his companion. Kaiser's attention is suddenly drawn away as a group of players recognize him from afar. A rival player points and asserts that Kaiser's unmistakable posture proves his true identity. Kaiser turns in annoyance as the loud players charge toward him to confirm his name. A frantic crowd of recruiters bombards Kaiser, desperately offering luxurious benefits to recruit him. Chaos erupts as recruiters physically lunge forward, shouting at one another to secure him first. Surrounded on all sides, Kaiser realizes his viral combat video has attracted a massive horde of players. Kaiser jokingly sighs, accepting that his irresistible charm is a burden he must carry. Leaning into the fame, Kaiser humorously offers to take photos with his excited new fans. The annoyed recruiters ignore his playful remarks, demanding they capture him immediately instead of talking. Kaiser tries to activate his weapon, but stares blankly as it fails to have any effect. A sudden bright flash of light announces his weapon is transforming into a protective shield. Crouching behind his newly manifested silver shield, Kaiser realizes peaceful negotiations are officially over. With a powerful swing, Kaiser slams his shield forward, unleashing a shockwave of defensive force. Kaiser lunges into the crowd, fiercely claiming his right to personal space with a powerful strike. A massive, brilliant burst of golden energy sweeps across the battlefield, scattering the greedy recruiters. Back in reality, the young gamer smiles smugly as he remembers his chaotic victory. Imagining himself in the game, Kaiser dramatically raises his chopsticks to battle his sister's ramen. Metal clashes against metal as the siblings engage in a high-stakes duel over the noodles. Kaiser jokingly complains that his opponent is remarkably tough, while his sister stares in disbelief. His sister dryly tells him to touch grass and stop acting like a legendary gamer. Annoyed by her dismissive attitude, Kaiser slams the table and defends his gaming achievements. Ignoring his protests, she calmly asks if he has managed to join a guild yet. Kaiser proudly crosses his arms, stating he has no plans to join one anytime soon. She scoffs in amusement, teasing him that no Guild Scouts would ever want him anyway. Infuriated by his sister's mocking attitude, the ambitious youth fiercely vows to become the absolute top-ranked player. His sister casually dismisses his lofty ambitions, listing his complete lack of any real-world gaming accomplishments. Standing up abruptly, the young gamer passionately challenges her to wait and witness his inevitable rise to stardom. As he storms off, she dryly questions where his sudden burst of confidence came from. She quietly returns to her meal, unaware of the storm brewing in her brother's mind. He suddenly swoops in to steal a massive bite of her food, triggering a furious reaction. Retiring to his room, his hands fly across the keyboard as he prepares his next move. Driven by pure spite, he resolves to prove his critics wrong by showcasing his true capabilities. He logs into his interface to edit his recent hunt footage into a viral masterpiece. A sudden realization freezes him in his tracks as he spots something shocking online. He is completely stunned to find a popular video analyzing his own legendary alter ego. Meanwhile, a massive crowd gathers in-game as rumors of his impossible achievements shake the player base. Eager players gossip intensely about his S-rank trial success and his rumored hunting location. Desperate scouts race through the dark woods, hoping to capture a live feed of the mythic ranker. Leading scout worries that their elusive target has already detected them and slipped away. His partner laments losing the golden opportunity to reveal the mysterious player's identity on camera. Major guild leaders express utter disbelief that a solo player would reject all of their lucrative offers. The smug leader of the elite hero guild eagerly anticipates the chaos this newcomer will bring. The online community erupts with wild praise, hyping him up as a legendary guild crusher. Back in his dark bedroom, the young gamer stares blankly at the massive screen. He is utterly baffled by the wildly exaggerated rumors circulating about his alleged hostile intentions. Recognizing a golden opportunity, he decides to bypass heavy editing and upload some quick footage. He smiles greedily under his blankets, dreaming of the massive ad revenue his viral upload will generate. His grand fantasies of buying luxury sports cars are hilariously crushed by the memory of lacking a driver's license. A bright new morning dawns, bringing a fresh start to his rising gaming career. He immediately reaches for his phone to check the performance of his newly uploaded video. He is greeted by mind-blowing statistics showing his new channel exploding into an overnight sensation. A flood of ecstatic fan comments leaves the young gamer completely speechless. Sitting up in bed, he struggles to believe that this wildly popular channel actually belongs to him. A triumphant, smug grin spreads across his face as his digital success officially sinks in. He bursts out of his bedroom to proudly gloat about his massive online victory. His grand moment of pride is violently cut short by a swift blow to the hand. His angry mother fiercely demands he quiet down and join them for breakfast immediately. He rubs his bruised head while confidently promising to treat her to a feast once he earns his fortune. He casually asks about his sister's whereabouts, only to learn she has already left for school. Determined to capitalize on his viral momentum, he steps into his machine and logs back in. Reappearing in-game, the green-haired warrior enthusiastically prepares for another legendary grinding session. A sudden system notification alerts him that his companion has officially undergone a powerful awakening. His green goblin companion greets him warmly as he reviews his updated stats. The warrior watches in annoyance as his companion acts increasingly smug and self-absorbed. He questions the subtle changes in his companion's look, which the goblin playfully brushes off. He focuses on his newly awakened pet spider, noting its sudden and dramatic color change. The warrior hilariously objects to his companion's cheeky antics, demanding proper respect. Moving to a grand hall, he presents a small, mysterious light green box to a high-ranking priest. He carefully opens the container, revealing a dark, ancient-looking stone resting inside. The elder gently wraps the mysterious artifact in a clean white cloth. The priest solemnly confirms that this is indeed the legendary item they were searching for. The holy man turns to the young warrior, asking if he truly understands the object's significance. The warrior honestly admits he has absolutely no idea what the mysterious artifact actually is. An outraged holy knight furiously demands answers, prompting the sweating warrior to quickly explain how he stumbled upon it. Zerdik, the spiky-haired blonde knight, loudly questions how anyone could pull an artifact out of solid rock. Another temple guardian sternly calls out Zerdik to rein in his aggressive behavior. The dark-haired guard apologizes for Zerdik's rude attitude, while Kaiser is left sweating in absolute disbelief. The wise high priest calmly reassures his men that there is no reason to doubt Kaiser, much to Zerdik's frustration. Realizing their mistake, the high priest humbly bows and asks Kaiser for forgiveness. A bright system notification activates, recognizing Kaiser as the top graduate instead of a mere wanderer. The high priest acknowledges Kaiser's grand achievement and offers to reveal the ancient stone's dark history. The elder holds up the black artifact, warning that it holds the footprint of an unspeakable horror. The solemn knights listen intently as the high priest explains the terrifying names given to this dread object. The high priest delivers a chilling revelation as he names the ominous force as the Abyss. The scene shifts to a chaotic flashback where a crowd of recruiters is violently blown away by an explosive force. Fallen players groan on the ground, calling Kaiser brainless for his sudden and destructive attack. Scurrying away from the blast, Kaiser desperately orders his familiars Jihad and Eliza to escape with him. The recruiters quickly regain their footing, demanding everyone chase down Kaiser before he slips away. Kaiser grits his teeth, frustrated that his sudden popularity has attracted a horde of relentless hunters. Eager hunters spot him from a distance, shouting excitedly that the legend has finally appeared. Startled by the sudden ambush, Kaiser turns back with wide, alarmed eyes. Jihad the goblin rushes toward his master with the tiny spider Eliza resting safely on his head. Raising his glowing hand, Kaiser prepares to summon a strategic defense to hold back the advancing crowd. A heavy metal shield begins to glow with a bright golden aura as it hovers off the ground. The shield flies forward with immense speed, acting as a powerful projectile. Kaiser lunges forward to catch his flying shield mid-run, preparing to unleash a powerful attack. Swinging the glowing shield in a wide arc, Kaiser issues a final warning to anyone who values their life. He fiercely commands the greedy hunters to clear out of his path immediately. Kaiser slams his shield down, unleashing a massive golden shockwave that sends his pursuers flying in all directions. Shifting to the peaceful town of Lear, the sun shines brightly over towering white buildings and quiet streets. Passing players immediately recognize Kaiser, gossiping in awe as he walks through the safe zone. Kaiser walks alongside his dark goblin companion, keeping a low profile to avoid further trouble. A desperate recruiter tries to pitch his guild, but Kaiser quickly shuts him down with a blunt rejection. Staring ahead, Kaiser reflects on how much safer the city is compared to the chaotic hunting grounds. Kaiser notices a group of masked, hostile players watching him closely, knowing they are waiting for a chance to strike. Jihad warns him that defeating a Day 4 rookie legend like Kaiser would make any player famous overnight. Kaiser resolves to lie low and avoid showing off until he quickly reaches the maximum level. The cheeky goblin suddenly yells his own name to a crowd of onlookers, trying to claim his share of the fame. Jihad marches proudly through the street, completely ignoring Kaiser's attempts to keep a low profile. The bewildered crowd laughs, mocking the little goblin and mishearing his name as Groundwater. Jihad starts to loudly brag about his guardian status before his grand speech is violently interrupted. An embarrassed Kaiser drags his screaming goblin by his cloak, furious at him for drawing unnecessary attention. Jihad desperately complains that he was just trying to make their guardian team famous as he was dragged away. Kaiser tells his flattened goblin to shut up and focus on their impending quests. The scene shifts as the imposing white spires of the Lyre Temple reach toward the bright blue sky. They arrive at the grand entrance of the majestic cathedral, seeking an audience with the clergy. Kaiser pauses on the stone steps, admitting to his familiars that he has an incredibly bad feeling. Taking a cautious step forward, Kaiser prepares to confront whatever lies ahead. Two heavily armored temple guards immediately block their path with long, sharp spears. Kaiser states his business, explaining that he came to see the high priest Cutterer. The guard suddenly thrusts his spear right in front of Kaiser's face, shocking him. The angry guard demands to know how a mere wanderer dares to casually speak the high priest's holy name. The tiny white spider Eliza angrily defends Kaiser by shouting back at the hostile temple guards. Jihad bares his sharp teeth, preparing to fight alongside his master against the aggressive guardians. Facing down a deadly spear point, the green goblin companion nervously tries to brush off the hostile confrontation with a cheeky excuse. Desperately trying to bypass the suspicious guard, Kaiser frantically searches his holographic system screen for a way to prove his business. Sweating under pressure, Kaiser presents the mysterious light green box, loudly declaring that he has brought the requested item. Without a word of hesitation, the stone-faced temple guardian swiftly snatches the container right out of the warrior's hand. Opening the box, the guard is instantly rendered completely speechless by the ancient glowing energy radiating from the artifact inside. Walking down the heavily guarded cathedral corridor, Kaiser reflects on the incredibly intense security measures protecting this sacred temple. Arriving at the towering inner sanctuary doors, the robed priests instruct Kaiser to enter with the utmost care and respect. The priest delivers a final serious warning to watch his words, prompting Kaiser to regret his chaotic street fighting earlier. Taking a deep breath, Kaiser nervously peeks through the heavy wooden doors as they slowly creak open. Sitting upon a majestic, towering throne, the high priest commands the grand hall flanked by two formidable, heavily armored paladins. Stepping into the massive sanctuary, Kaiser immediately feels overwhelmed by the suffocatingly tense, silent atmosphere hanging over the room. Spiky-haired blonde knight Zerdek steps forward and aggressively demands to know exactly who has entered their sacred hall. Kaiser's sweat drops in sheer panic as a system warning reveals the knight's terrifying red name tag status. Standing tall, the hostile knight demands that Kaiser at least show some respect by declaring his true name. Tension mounts to a fever pitch as the heavily armored warrior stands his ground before the suspicious temple paladin. Caught completely off guard, Kaiser stutters out a terrible fake alias that only succeeds in annoying the impatient knight. Before the confrontation can escalate, the dark-haired guard captain commands Zerdek to stand down and control his temper. Introducing himself as Toxibel, the elegant guard captain politely asks Kaiser to forgive his partner's incredibly abrasive manners. Staring at the captain, Kaiser's anxiety spikes as he notices yet another deadly red name tag looming before him. Desperately trying to diffuse the terrifying tension, Kaiser rubs his head and forces a nervous laugh to play it cool. The high priest finally speaks, his booming voice welcoming Kaiser and acknowledging his impressive journey to the temple. The solemn elder begins sharing the ancient lore, explaining how the threat of the abyss has existed since the dawn of time. He details how their god charged the order with erasing all traces of the dark forest while Kaiser silently recalls past warnings. Kaiser's expression darkens as he ponders the hidden history of the divine war, realizing the official tale feels incredibly twisted. The spiky-haired knight suddenly snaps Kaiser out of his deep thoughts, loudly demanding to know what he is pondering so intensely. Meanwhile, a massive crowd of eager players gathers outside the towering white arches of the temple, waiting for the legend to emerge. Relentless hunters and recruiters gossip intensely, determined not to leave their spots until they catch a glimpse of Kaiser. Peeking through the temple doors, the goblin companion chuckles at the absolute madness and loyalty of the crowd outside. Stepping onto the steps alone, the goblin immediately draws the attention of the players, who wonder why Kaiser's guardian is by himself. The goblin's sweat drops in sudden annoyance, realizing his master must have sneakily ditched him to avoid the crowd. Deciding to make the most of it, the goblin smugly struts away, leaving the onlookers utterly baffled by his sudden departure. The curious crowd watches his retreat, questioning where the strange creature could possibly be heading in such a hurry. Seizing the opportunity to show off, the goblin loudly whispers rumors of a hidden gate nearby, instantly hooking the greedy crowd. Walking down the busy streets, the goblin leads a massive parade of unsuspecting players on a wild goose chase. The trailing players grow increasingly impatient, loudly questioning if the little guide is actually leading them to Kaiser. Ducking into a quiet stone alleyway, a brilliant pillar of blue magical light suddenly erupts from the ground. The pursuing players are left in absolute shock as they realize the goblin has vanished into thin air. Deep within the foggy, quiet woods, a bright blue summoning circle flashes as the goblin is safely teleported back to Kaiser. Kaiser pumps his fist in absolute triumph, enthusiastically praising his companion for executing the diversion perfectly. A mental breakdown of the scheme reveals how Kaiser utilized the goblin's attention-seeking nature to clear a safe path through the crowd. Kaiser chuckles smugly to himself, thoroughly amused by how easily he outsmarted the greedy crowd of players. Realizing they aren't entirely safe yet, Kaiser quickly hushes his loud companion, warning him that they are still within earshot.
Kaiser frantically hushes the goblin, warning that any showboating will result in him being locked away in the Guardian inventory.
Just a short distance away, passing players completely ignore the duo, casually dismissing them as mere low-level nobodies. A system notification confirms that his stealth skill has expired as Kaiser decides they have finally traveled deep enough into the woods.
Kneeling down, Kaiser gently pats the adorable white spider Eliza, warmly thanking her for her quiet assistance. The goblin crosses his arms and sulks, loudly demanding proper credit for his massive, heroic role in their grand escape. Completely ignoring his companion's dramatic complaints, Kaiser turns to ask what the little spider is excitedly trying to say. Refusing to translate for his ungrateful master, the stubborn goblin turns his head away in an adorable huff. Their comical bickering is violently shattered as a massive, muscular green hand lunges out of the dense fog with a terrifying roar. Just as the threat lunges, Kaiser gasps in sudden shock as danger strikes. Jihad whips his head around, completely startled by the sudden ambush. Eliza suddenly launches herself forward off the goblin's head into action. The brave little spider flies directly toward a roaring giant green orc. The scene flashes back to the temple sanctuary where Zerdik aggressively accuses Kaiser of hiding a secret.
Taxibel quickly steps in, apologizing to Kaiser for his partner's intense sensitivity regarding the abyss.
The High Priest puts an end to the bickering, offering Kaiser an important new quest. The Solemn Elder tasks him with investigating if any monsters have been tainted by the dark corruption. He explains how the mutation manifests and requests that Kaiser retrieve the infected creature's blood. A system screen materializes detailing the quest requirements to hunt and gather concentrated orc blood. Kaiser's eyes widen with greed upon seeing the incredible intermediate skill ticket reward. Eagerly bowing, Kaiser accepts the high-stakes mission and promises swift results. Bursting through the temple doors, Kaiser enthusiastically prepares to return to the active grind. Kaiser happily dances down the corridor, celebrating his impending power-up and future level gains. He is so hyped that he loses all composure, spinning around in pure joy as Jihad watches. Even the little goblin joins in, mimicking Kaiser's ridiculous victory dance step for step. Humming happily, Kaiser rushes to open the heavy exit doors to head out. His excitement instantly vanishes as he spots a massive, suffocating crowd of players waiting right outside. In sheer panic, Kaiser violently slams the massive wooden doors shut again. Sweat dripping down his face, Kaiser worries while Jihad asks if the players are his fan club. Kaiser imagines himself playing a flute, leading an endless train of clingy followers out of the city. He fears that stepping outside will lead to an immediate mobbing and eventual death in the forest. Clutching his head, Kaiser desperately tries to devise a stealthy escape plan. A sudden, mischievous idea sparks in his mind as he glints sideways at his companion. Kaiser calls out to Jihad, who looks back with absolute curiosity. Pointing directly at him, Kaiser demands that the goblin take off his dark cloak. Mistaking his master's intentions, Jihad dramatically blushes, prompting Kaiser to demand what he is plotting. A system screen displays the goblin shaman's robe, revealing its special face-concealing disguise capabilities. Jihad nervously clutches his cloak, completely reluctant to hand over his precious gear. Kaiser's face darkens into a terrifyingly demonic grin as he demands obedience. Remembering how Kaiser ruthlessly dragged him earlier, Jihad realizes his master is not joking around. Seeing an opportunity to exploit the situation, the cheeky goblin lets out a sly grin. Jihad smugly demands that Kaiser beg him politely before he hands over the cloak. Kaiser reacts in absolute rage and disbelief at his companion's incredible audacity. Jihad shamelessly threatens him with a physical beating, leaving Kaiser questioning his companion's low loyalty. Jihad challenges him to a fight right inside the temple, successfully forcing a frustrated Kaiser to submit. Swallowing his pride, a trembling Kaiser prepares to utter the humiliating request. Veins popping on his face, Kaiser struggles to force the embarrassing words out of his mouth. Suddenly, Eliza hops onto Kaiser's shoulder, interrupting the tense and awkward standoff. The little spider proudly presents a glowing, intricate silver accessory to her surprised master. Jihad cries out in absolute shock as the spider willingly offers up the mysterious item. Confused, Kaiser gently accepts the small, glowing necklace from Eliza. System notification reveals that Eliza's bracelet is a heroic-grade stealth item restricted to her master. Kaiser gasps in ecstatic joy, realizing he now has a perfect high-tier stealth item. Crying comically, Jihad translates that Eliza was simply tired of watching them bicker like children. Examining the bracelet, Kaiser notes its utility but spots a tricky condition about touching nothing. Looking back at his companion, Kaiser realizes an invisible warrior traveling with a loud goblin is still risky. Kaiser stops in his tracks, a sudden realization hitting him as he turns to Jihad. Kaiser flashes a deeply unsettling, triumphant grin, warning the goblin that it is now his turn to obey. Sweating in sheer terror, Jihad gulps, dreading whatever insane scheme his master is plotting next.